and the Joe Rogan, and boom, we're live.
I cannot find a proof stream.
Yeah, it always takes a few seconds, dude, but we're live.
Okay. All right. Yep, we are indeed. All right. Yep. Let me cut out this audio. Sorry about that, gentlemen. All right. All right. Merry Christmas. Y'all good? Y'all ready?
Yep. Merry Christmas, dude. Let's do this.
All right. All right. Here we go. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, dear listener, and welcome to HSP number 108, our special Christmas episode. Dear listener, 108 is a magnificent number. It is 36 times, or is that right? Yeah, 36 times 3, a fantastic number. 3 to the third power times 2 to the fourth. Is that correct? Somebody check my math on that. But it doesn't matter anyway, dear listener. And why is that? Because the trail grows longer each and every single week, and this is a long trail this week for Merry Christmas episode number 108, which is in the house presently. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at Zero Gravity Med. Send us feedback at zero-gravity-media.com. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and TuneIn, all 4 under Zero Gravity Media. And more platforms cometh, dear listener. As if you listen to episode number 107, you know that we have been requested to make an appearance on Rumble, and we think that we're going to do that. But I must say, in particular, dear listener, there is no HSP presence on Podbean at all, okay? So if you find HSP on Podbean, they are imposters. Dear listener, find us on YouTube right here. Look for Zero Gravity Media and our God tier Zero G logo. And leave us some feedback using the contact form at our website, zero-gravity-media.com/contact. Luke, I haven't done the best city, the biggest city of the week. I haven't even looked into it this week, and it doesn't really matter anyway because the entire world is the biggest city this week. Our glad tidings go out to all of you for a very Merry Christmas, dear listener. And as Biden comes into office, which isn't going to happen, but let's assume the worst case scenario. If he does, Merry Christmas, the term Merry Christmas will get canceled once again. You believe that? So anyways, in the house, we've got my trusty cohort, Luke, as always. We've got our boy, Dan, in the house, with whom we burned it down 2 nights ago, dear listener, and the 3 of us are still trying to recover from that 2 nights ago, but we're doing all right. We're going to have numerous other guests pop into the show. Shady Nate's going to be in the house. John might show up in the house. I would really like to see John Nelson, but I've not heard confirmation. Shayna and Dave from Texas may show up in the house. Dearest listener flatly said no, but we have Ross is coming. Kyle will find out about. It's going to be a good show, dear listener, and it's going to be a long slog. So strap your ass into the sleigh, get warm, get comfy, pour yourself some eggnog, and let's ride this trail. Gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Good, man. While you're doing the intro, I looked up the city from whom we've had the most number of listens in the last week.
Yeah, who is it?
A new rider to the trail.
Who is it?
It's
all right. Let's do this right. All right. You ready?
Yeah, do it.
All right, here it comes. Luke, I can't wait to hear this. And finally, you announce the biggest city for the previous week.
For the first time ever.
For the first time ever, yes. Who is it?
It is. I don't hear the drum roll, but
oh, you didn't? Damn it! So we're having the same problem we had last week again.
Yeah, but that's because I'm the one announcing it this time. It's
okay. Well, yeah, true.
Because I'm the one that does the drum roll. Like I literally do the drum roll.
You do play, dear listener. Luke does play the drum roll each week. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So our most listened to city last week is a new rider in the trail, Vara, Sweden.
Vara, Sweden. Well, Sweden. Merry Christmas. Vara, Sweden. Wow, I never would have.
I'm telling you, that's like, dude, that is our target market. Week over week is unheard of cities all throughout the world, where there can surely be no more than a few hundred residents, and that's just where we just slam it home week after week is unheard of markets. Yeah. Going after those niche markets, Daily Wire, they're not in Vara. I'll tell you that right now.
Daily Wire, that's right.
Tim Pool, where you at in Vara?
Yeah, that's right.
Not where we are.
That's right. Yep. We Ponca City, Oklahoma, as always. Washington, Virginia, a town of 200 that we got so many listens those few weeks there, and we still do, that every single person in the town has to have been listening to us. It's interesting. It's very interesting. But
Yeah, what's the place up in like just south of Washington? Just south of Seattle. There's like a county or a city just south.
Snohomish.
Yeah, dude. Slam it home in Snohomish.
Yeah, we still are. Yeah. And dear listener, we do well in major markets as well, like Dallas, Houston, New York. We do well, but like sometimes these smaller towns just come out of nowhere and blow it up for us. So welcome, dear listeners, one and all, fellow riders on this trail. Thank you so much for joining us for this Christmas episode. We hope we do you proud. We know we will. But it's going to be a shit posty kind of episode, dear listener. It's going to be like that, and it's going to be a long ride too. So yeah.
All right, we got Ross that just joined on the stream. How you doing,
what's
buddy?
up, Ross? What's up?
Doing good, guys. Doing good out here in the country, listening to the chickens.
Yeah. Whereabouts? Are you in Texas, New Mexico? Whereabouts?
No, I'm over here by Austin.
Okay. Good deal, man. Good deal.
So,
yeah.
It's a rather warm day before Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it is up here outside of Dallas as well. And by the way, man, there is a fair to Midland chance that I might be moving to Austin here pretty quick. Fair to Midland.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You haven't even told me about this.
Yeah. It's that.
Is that
the chicken?
There's a Russ to Roth connection. That's. I told you I was listening to the chickens. I told you that. I said it. I wasn't being facetious. I was literally mentioning the fact that there are chickens all around me at the moment.
I will just be damned.
So,
all right.
Wow.
So yeah, there's this Russ to Ross connection, Luke, that you'll just never have.
Yeah.
It's just this one letter connection that it's we're just always gonna have it. You and Luke will just never have what Russ and I have.
Yeah. No, that's totally true.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll also add that no stream would be based in Redpilled without roosters in the background. So
you know what? That's a damn fact. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, man. So Dan, how are you doing, man?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Coming off the bender still, so I need to sober up one of these days. It's been an interesting holiday season.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
be interesting to be here live. I feel like I'm kind of the shit poster in chief for ZGM. I was just troll on Shoe Bros and HSP, actually present for once.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you, man.
Yes, and also,
so
Ross,
Dan, how are you gonna?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, I was
go on.
Merry Christmas to you as Russ. I was gonna ask Dan how he plans to spend his $600.
Well, I want to see what happened with Trump taking Rand Paul seriously, being like, "Nope, let's make it $2,000." It's like, I don't think that's what Mr. Paul was saying, but, but yeah, that'll be going straight to ammo.
Yeah. So supposedly AOC has already written the amendment, which is doubtful that she's written anything, but has already written the amendment and it's already ready to go back to the House. They just need Mitch McConnell to agree to it. But the fact is that they're adding money and not taking any. So Trump said, okay, hey, we need to add money here and take all this other money away. They're fine adding all the other money. They're not taking any money out.
Yeah. True story. Yeah. That's my understanding. My exact understanding. What a goddamn disgrace. I'm just going to say it's an absolute disgrace. And Luke, it goes back to what we always argue about moving the ball forward, moving the chains, right? No, we're anti-socialism, but we can manage socialism better than you can. And so here we are. We're talking about a dollar amount. And gentlemen, I am very fearful that this will go on for perpetuity. I do not see this stopping.
When you say this, what do you mean exactly?
arguing over dollar amounts, handouts, right?
Quibbling over the non-essentials. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, this is the real problem with the right, and this is kind of something that Ross and I were getting at on our first episode of the show that we're doing now of Life and Liberty, which is that the right needs to just have a more philosophical, a more fundamentally principled approach to literally everything that they say and do. And until they actually start, here's a good example. Is the issue really that we're giving everybody $600? That we're giving everybody $600 and not 2,000, or is the issue that we are indebting future generations to come, and that we shouldn't be doing that? I think that's the questions that we should be asking.
The issue is that we've created the conditions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go, Ross.
I think Ross is not hearing us right now.
Ross, your audio cucked out.
Were you?
It might be the roosters.
Yeah.
I was going to say the issue to me is not that either of these. The issue is that we've created the conditions into which we be hearing me on a delay. I can tell that what I'm saying you guys are catching about 10 seconds after. So what I was saying is that we've created the conditions into which we have to give this government the economy and let people go back to work. There wouldn't be a need for this money, but because we've created these conditions on the government every step of the way.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask Dan and Russ. Was Ross breaking out during that? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think if I could sum up Ross's point. Cool. We got Fulton joining as well here in a minute. And I have to send him the link. Okay. I think if I could sum up Ross's point, and Ross, you can jump in if I'm not summing this up correctly, is that we've created a situation in which it's not a matter of should or shouldn't. It's a matter of we have to give these people the money because we've created a situation in which nobody can work, and we have to give them, help people survive because we've destroyed the economy. Is that right, Ross?
Yeah, that's right. And if now Democrats will seize on this as, we could do it then, we can do it again. And we can keep doing it and keep doing it and keep.
So will Republicans, for that matter. It's not unique to the Democrat Party. So will Republicans.
Did y'all hear the Rand Paul dissent speech that I was referring to? Y'all know what I'm talking about with that? The 12-minute basically called all the Republicans rhinos, said you're basically Democrats. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was.
When I totally missed this. When was this?
I posted it in Discord. It was the day they had the vote. He went on a 12-minute rant that was just beautiful.
Late afternoon yesterday. Yeah, on December 22nd. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was just excoriating, if we're going to give them 6, why don't we give them 1,000? Why don't we give them 2,000? Why don't we just, hey, we're not Republicans anymore. Let's give them UBI.
Yeah.
And he just goes off for 6 minutes on the spending. Then he goes off for another 6 minutes on fuck your lockdowns. This shouldn't have happened in the first place. And then at the end, he just drops in why are we in Afghanistan? Drops Mike.
Yeah, he does. I could not agree with him more. That really, gentlemen, to me, that is the fatal flaw of the Donald Trump presidency is the spending. Now, I understand things had to be done because of the Kung flu. Okay, I understand that, right? We had to spend some money in order to stimulate the economy. Okay, but what we have right now with this relief bill in its original draft with what was it, $180 billion, $182 billion in the form of denominated to $600 per citizen. Okay, $600 with backward benefits for illegal aliens, which is despicable, came out to about $180 billion. Okay. And all of the rest of this shit from 182 billion up to 900 billion, which the fact is, gentlemen, it's not 900 billion. There is a spending omnibus packaged in with this as well. So what we're talking about is 2.7 trill. Okay. 2.7 trill. And I cannot escape the irony that it is the precise amount that was given away to Wall Street in TARP 1 and TARP 2. I cannot escape that irony. You know what I mean? So it's like, gentlemen, let me put it this way. Okay. George Bush, when the financial collapse happened in 2009, on his way out, he contributed 780 billion, if I recall correctly. Okay. Obama comes out as soon as he's into office, and he's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bail out our friends. I'm going to make sure that Main Street is taken care of. Right. He didn't do that. Right. He gave at that point in time about $1.7 trillion away to labor unions, to Wall Street, to companies like Solyndra. Okay. Like these companies that were doomed to fail because their ideas were horrible and very uncapitalistic. Now here we are, and the exact same dollar amount has been prescribed, and this money goes to $10 million to gender programs in Pakistan. Bails out all of the cities, blue cities and states, right? It is the absolute most despicable goddamn thing I've ever seen. And I am not certain that Trump will veto it. I'm unfortunately I'm a little bit despondent that he got baited. I'm sorry to talk so much, but man, I've been on a rant about this, or on a tear about this. He comes out and demands $2,000 for every American citizen and reducing the pork. Okay, well, we should not be giving money for free, right? Even FDR did not do that in the Great Society. That has never happened, right? That is pure, straight up socialism, purely, right? And so here we are, like we were saying, like I was saying earlier. Now we are just arguing about technicalities of dollar amounts, and this will never, ever, ever go away. I'm going to try not to swear on the Christmas show, dear listener. I want everybody to be of good cheer. So, I believe that Trump took the bait, and because $2,000 per American citizen, that means nothing. All right, good. You pay your rent for the month. Great. Okay. The damages that have been done to the greater economy in terms of restaurants, small business, is far beyond $2,000 per person, right? Well, as soon as Trump says it, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are like, and as Ross accurately described, AOC wrote the amendment immediately. He took the bait, and they were like, oh, yes, absolutely. $2,000 per American citizen, but we're not taking out any of this foreign aid, which is essentially what this bill is. It's a foreign aid bill and a bailout bill, right? It's not a stimulus bill. It's a bailout bill. And I'm going to shut up now, man. Somebody take it.
I have a
Dan,
question.
you look like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I have an honest question for y'all, because y'all are more informed on the technical side of things. But with this stimulus being tied into the spending bill, if he's kicking a storm back up on it when the House was already agreed, they were moving forward with it, is this something that if he stirs the dust back up, they start fighting over all this again? We have a government shutdown. How do you do an inauguration if the government shut down? Like, is that possibly something that's in play here that he doesn't?
Yes, it is in play. I do understand there are other things in play as well, Dan Johns. I understand that they have in both chambers of Congress enough to supersede the veto, enough votes in each chamber.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that if he gets them stirred back up fighting over it so that they're not agreed anymore, and then it doesn't pass and the government shuts down, is it?
Well, that's an intelligent point. Okay, first of all, this premise is correct. If the stimulus bill, spending omnibus, yet another cromnibus bill, if it does not pass, then the government is shut down on December 28th. Ross, is that correct? I think it's shut down on December 28th.
Well, yeah, it was originally September 19th. They've pushed this now.
Right.
by these very, 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 they've just been pushing it into the future.
Yep, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So I think it's December 28th that the government shuts down, and boy, the Democrats will make hay of a government shutdown. But then, Johns, I get your point. Is this a political dust-up? Yes, it is. What form will it take? Bro, I have no idea. I have no idea what it'll be like. So, yeah.
Well, we also got a newcomer on the stream as well. We got Matt Fulton here on the stream, former Fish Drill Team, Squadron 8. What are you? 07?
Half a semester, or like a semester on Fish Drill Team. Didn't make it the whole way.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh man.
Yeah. Like the grades were not so great. Fall semester, wasn't able to do the Fish Drill Team thing spring semester. So got to march with Fish Drill Team for the TU game, but didn't make it all the way there. But yeah, it was 09 Squadron 8. So.
All right.
So you were 06. Kyle was 08. I was 09. So
yeah. So
well,
what are your thoughts?
Well, Matt, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas to you. But yeah, like I've just been watching this like yesterday. I don't know if Luke or Russ you saw, but I had this like just post on Facebook about just highlighting the different spending items. I don't understand why when we're in a deficit, and we've been in a deficit for the past, I don't know how many years, probably decades.
Definitely
why we're giving money to Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Sudan, Pakistan, $10 million for gender programs, whatever that means. I didn't really know Pakistan was so woke all of a sudden, but
yeah, I was actually thinking about how like this is what if this is like a backdoor into corrupting Islam to send gender programs?
Maybe.
But why are we even bothering with any of that when we can't pay our own bills? And then why are we only giving Americans $600 when it's okay to pay $10 million to Pakistan for gender studies in one of the most repressive countries in the world? So it just doesn't make any sense to me, and it's just another consequence of letting government get as just out of hand as it's become. And I don't think even if Trump vetoes it, if there's the majority to countermand the veto, I don't think that a government that's just so set in their ways would go in line. Maybe you'd have some dissenters on the right, but we've got enough rhinos that they just overrule it, and it wouldn't really matter anyway.
I mean, here's my question is like, this isn't I'm not saying this to you necessarily, Matt, but I think this is in general. And I think that anybody on the right should be asking themselves this. Why in the hell have we not been asking this for decades already? How has it gotten to this point where just now, it takes basically destroying our economy. It comes to this point, and now we're worried that it's only 600 and not 2,000 back to everybody. And now we're suddenly concerned about all the money we're sending overseas. We've been sending money overseas for decades. People, and I don't know, perhaps this is a moment where people wake up a little bit and go, holy shit.
I think it is. Yeah.
See, and I've been saying that for a long time. Why when we can't pay our own bills, are we blowing money on other people? That's like if you can't pay your rent and your car note, why are you going to the strip club to give 20s to single mothers? I don't get it.
I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
Nikita, she needs to send her daughter to college.
I mean, that's a valid point, but stripper's daughter going to Dallas County community doesn't really override your need to pay your own bills. So
I don't know, man. She doesn't really. I mean, a couple bucks will go a long ways in that strip club.
Yeah.
I
she's
mean,
going to law school, man. She's going to law school. They're all going to law school. So yeah.
Fair point, but we all know that Cambodia is not paying their way through law school right now.
Yeah.
But
Okay, well then maybe we need to have an honest conversation around the quality of strip clubs in Cambodia.
It is my understanding that they're fairly high quality. So yeah.
I never thought a Christmas episode of anything would include the words "quality of strip clubs in Cambodia," but this is why I get really excited for the show every single week. So,
oh, thanks, man. I mean, we don't always talk about strip clubs, but when we do, it's about strip clubs in Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, ultimately, though, we've seen that the lockdowns haven't worked. The masks haven't worked. I mean, my mom just a few weeks ago, who was, because her hours were cut back at work, was making masks because she's an awesome seamstress and making just killer profit off of making masks. She got the Rona after doing everything the government has said. Oh, hey, wear a mask, do this. So we know what the government's doing to us and locking us down isn't working. So we know that them just giving us money is just making the problem slightly less intense for everyone. Just open it all back up. Let everyone make their decisions based on what they want to do, and let the free market work.
But here's the thing, and this is again like going back to, Ross and I did the show on Monday, of Life and Liberty, which I'm now again shamelessly plugging. And by the way, William, we profusely apologize for not providing a trigger warning before listing all of the foreign aid spendings. That was really not our intention, was to cause some sort of offense. But no, I mean, here's the thing, and this is the questions that we should be asking ourselves. Is like, okay, let's imagine a scenario in which the lockdowns did work. Does that still make it right? When I hear anybody on the right talking about like what works and what doesn't work, like this is to me such a hollow defense of capitalism. For example, is that people are on the right are like, oh, we need to go into capitalism. We need to move in that direction. We need to be capitalistic because that's what works. I don't like it. It works for a reason. It works because it's right. It's morally right. And so we need to be asking ourselves, are the lockdowns, did they work or did they not work? Are the lockdowns morally right or are they not morally right? And I think we'll get to a much more meaningful answer when we actually ask ourselves that. Were they right? Is it right to destroy everybody's business? Is it right to tell people who are not at risk, who need to survive somehow, who have to go make a living? Is it right to tell them, you can't go do that because other people are at risk? So like I always harp on this when I have conversations with people, especially those on the right, about it's not about what works, it's about what's right, it's about what's moral, and the connective tissue between politics and morality is the issue of rights. And it's through the issue of rights that we can arrive at some sort of meaningful conclusion as to what is right, what should we do. And if we are able to discern what it is we should be doing, and we actually figure out what that is based upon what's right, then that is what will work. Ross, you haven't spoken in a while. What are your thoughts on all this?
And that's rare.
Well, I think like we talked about on Monday. Well, hopefully y'all can still hear the chickens and the geese. Like we talked about on Monday, a large part of this is just understanding that there is a moral argument for capitalism, for free market, laissez-faire capitalism. When we start talking about what is the moral good, what is the moral right, when we start, people want to say, well, we need to empower those who were not empowered. But one cannot empower someone without de-empowering someone else. That's the nature of the beast. So either everybody is truly equal, or somebody is always more equal than another. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing a class that has been made more equal than the others. And we need to make sure that in laissez-faire capitalism, and the left is going to argue that, well, this is, this laissez-faire doesn't work because they're equating laissez-faire with what we have today. What we have today is not laissez-faire capitalism. What we have today is crony capitalism.
Ross, I couldn't agree more. When you're talking, oh, are you still talking? I can't tell. No, you're not. Okay. Talking about the distribution of power, you are indeed correct. That is a zero-sum game. Okay. When you're talking about the distribution of an economy, that is not zero-sum. Economies can grow, and more businesses, whatever, can be created. Okay. In the case of power, that is not true, because there is actually one absolute when it comes to power, and that is absolute power. So I think that's a very salient observation. I couldn't agree more.
Right, but here's the other thing is, like, when you're dealing with something like capitalism, it isn't lose-lose. It's not a matter of somebody being more equal or less equal. It's a metaphysical impossibility that two people are equal. That's simply not possible. And this is why socialism has to necessarily and always and everywhere fail, because no two people are equal.
Yes.
So I remember back in Boy Scouts when we would go on camping trips, what we would do is we would take the slowest hiker and we'd put him in front of, all right, we got another person joining the stream. This is my dad and Shayna. Hold on.
Hello there. Do you hear me?
Hey,
Dad,
Texas, how's it going?
we got David,
Fine,
Texas. Pops.
I do not see myself. Oh, there we go. There we go.
All right.
Check one,
Dad,
two, three.
I was just we were just discussing capitalism, socialism, and I was explaining that back in the Boy Scouts, what you do is you take the slowest person, the slowest hiker, and you put them in the front of the pack, and that slows everybody else down to make them to make everybody equally slow, so that nobody gets left behind. And that's a unique situation in which there's a purpose for doing that. But when you take that wholesale and apply it to the entire economy, it's a complete disaster. Because you're taking the if you will, the least equal or the least able, and then you're shackling everybody else to that person, and you're applying that across the entire economy. So like every inequality, this is what I'll say. This is my point in this. Inequality is not a bug of capitalism. Inequality is a feature of capitalism. If you live in a society where everybody is equal, you do not live in a free society. You live in some sort of socialist dictatorship, authoritarian nightmare. If you live in a free society, there will necessarily be inequality, and we should celebrate that. Russ, you thought that was funny?
No, not you. I'm listening to those freaking chickens, man.
So guys,
yeah. No, leave it going, Ross. It's great. It's
they're
great.
going crazy. So guys, I am gonna.
For this is
Have
great.
Russ, have I success? Have I triggered?
I am gonna be.
Triggered your chickens?
I think you have, yeah. No, this is literally all day here. We just have so many of them that one goes off and the rest of them go off, and it's just a vicious circle. So, all right, guys. Well, I am gonna hop off. I got some stuff to do with the family, so we're letting you go. All right, guys. Merry
take care,
Christmas
man.
to all, and all a good night.
Thanks for coming by, man.
All right,
Merry
take care.
Christmas.
Bye. Oh man, I miss that ambience. I really do. I really like the chicken sounds. I really did. So.
It's not quite a Christmas episode without chickens.
Yeah. Do we
Anybody
need to
else
like
have some farm animals that we can?
No.
Yeah, y'all got chickens out there. Can you bring a couple of them in your studio?
Negative. Let me check. No freaking way.
All right, gents, I do need a refill. I'm going to jump off cam. I'll be right back before you know it, but I'm going to boost my headphones so I'll hear y'all. All right, BRB.
No worries. No worries.
One short comment I was going to add is kind of the flip side of what you were saying of even if lockdowns worked, is it okay? I would say kind of the flip side of that ties into what you were saying, Luke, that, even if the lockdowns didn't destroy businesses, it's still not moral. The government still doesn't have the right to make those decisions for all of us. So it's kind of the other side of the coin. Like, even if it wasn't causing all this destruction, even if it wasn't causing all this unemployment, poverty, homelessness, what have you, it's still just not the government's place to tell me that, period.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. This has kind of been a bit of a point of a little bit of like a moment of reckoning for me personally, where it really caused me to slam on the brakes of my own thinking and check my own principles and ask myself, am I thinking the right things with respect to the lockdowns? Do I have a principled approach to property rights and individual rights and so forth? And it really, dude, I had to do a major serious brake check during this whole lockdown situation, because I realized that I had bought into some ideas which weren't actually principled and in which I shouldn't have bought into. Yeah, I mean, for me, this has been a huge brake check moment. And right now in Germany, I mean, we're just totally locked. They've completely destroyed the economy here. There's just nothing. You've got grocery stores, and that's about it. I think in America, it's much different. I mean, Dad, what's the story where y'all are? Is it just total lockdown? Or are y'all pretty much like going on about online, going on about your lives, more or less normally, or what's the deal there?
Well, first of all, sound check. Am I coming through okay there, guys?
Yeah, you probably have the best audio of any of us because you have the most expensive microphone. So
I've spent the stupidest amount of money on whatever I've got here. So anyway, yes, most of the things are going on as normal. You do need to wear a mask, everywhere. So when you go in the grocery store, everybody's in masks. However, in restaurants, you can wear your mask until you sit at your table, and then you can unmask for the purposes of your restaurant. Now, I played a gig last night, a duet gig. I was backing up a singer in a restaurant. We did not wear masks while we were performing, but the tables were all 6 feet apart, and the restaurant was at probably 50% of capacity. So I didn't really sense a safety issue there.
So do you, when people are like, dude, nobody comes to your gigs, are you like, oh, it's only 50% capacity? Haha, your move.
Actually, people came to my gig. So
no.
But not last night. Last night it was random people at the restaurant, and they're going, cool, live music. But the other night I had a gig at a different restaurant, and 15 of my peeps showed up. So that was great stuff. We had a lot of fun.
It's like struggling musicians everywhere celebrating 25% capacity rules.
There you go. I'd like to go back to your Boy Scout analogy a moment ago, and I think it's true that inequality is not a feature of capitalism. It is a feature of life. We just don't all get dealt the same deck of cards, is what it boils down to. And so life largely becomes a struggle, or not a struggle. Life's just the process of dealing with the cards that you get. So if you look at the Boy Scout example, where you've got a patrol of 10 or 11 scouts, and you put the short ones and the small ones in front to equalize out the performance. And I should point out, when I went to jump school in Fort Benning, we ran 3 miles every morning, and they had 3 platoons of us. Each platoon had 30 or 40 guys in it, and they had us all arranged by heights, and we would all march out on the running track and turn around, and we would run backwards because the tall guys were in front of the platoons, and they would turn around and run the platoons with the short guys up front. The reason why is the short guys just can't keep up, and it's not good, it's not bad, it's just is. But the line of thinking that you were on with this short guys up front thing, and it almost sort of sounded like you were saying, well, tough beans. If you got short legs, you're just going to have to deal with it, and that's just a feature of capitalism. And I would agree, but I would go on to the next point that we as men, and I would say, women can do this too, but men have figured out you can get a whole lot more done if you band into a group and do things as a group, as a pack. So men are largely pack animals. We form into groups. We're more like dogs. Women are more like cats. They're very much individual. They're just going to protect their family. And I got that analogy out of a book I read in the 60s by a feminist by the name of Betty Lehan Harrigan. It was called Games Mother Never Taught You, Corporate Gamesmanship for Women. And she said women need to understand when they get into the workplace, they're entering into the man's world, and men fight like dogs and they work in packs, and you need to understand the dynamic or you're going to not get the memo. So what am I saying here? Yes, you put the short people up at the front, and yes, it's tough. They've got short legs, and if they get left behind, if you go the other way, you can say tough beans, but I would say, well, no, wait a minute. In the capitalistic society, and then even elsewhere, we learn how to compensate for the shortcomings of everybody in our group. And yeah, some people in the group are going to be good at some things. Other people are going to be in the group at other things. And the role of leadership is to help figure these things out and allow the group to succeed at the highest level the group can succeed at. So to me, that is a method of dealing with this natural inequality that we have in the world. And so I think capitalism you could argue that inequality is just, a feature of it in tough beans. But I would say, well, no, a capitalist who's trying to help everybody win in order for themselves to win, they're going to figure out how to deal with these inequalities and put people in situations where their short legs come into play. I'll leave you with one example. I play soccer and I'm 67, and I get out there, and trust me, I'm the weak link on the soccer field now. So I go find a hole where I can not damage the team's performance. But I'm tall, I'm 6'1", and these little short guys with little short legs can dribble the ball in between mine. So in that case, the short guys, and Diego Maradona, rest in peace, being the most recent example of a itty bitty guy who was just unbelievably good with a ball in soccer. I would say these inequalities that life deals us are, I'm not sure they're disadvantages as much as they're just features. And I think as leaders in the world, we just need to be aware of those and ask the question, how can we maximize the performance of whatever group we happen to be in?
Yeah, I fully, agree with you. And it's difficult to draw these kinds of analogies when you have some sort of like narrow context, like the Boy Scouts and hiking and so on and so forth. But, when you live in a capitalist society, it's not just your short legs. It's not just, we have more artists than ever now, because there's so much wealth going around that people can be musicians, people can be artists, people can be painters. There's people who make their living doing reaction videos to other artists on YouTube. 2 nights ago, Russ and Dan and I had for me, what was a very late night session of watching a lot of YouTube videos on a stream together. But
have you seen the German guy reacting to the Aggie band yet?
No, I have not seen that. No, but I'll
There's
have
a
to watch
German
that.
guy. There's a German guy who's got videos up of lots of marching bands in the United States. And the first one that came up on my feed the other day was him looking at the Aggie band, and he goes, "How do they do that?" They were doing one of their.
Dave in Texas, you must send me this. I was in the Aggie band. You must send me this.
Russ
Please.
was Bugle rank.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably find it for German guy reacts to Aggie band on YouTube.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that everyone is not equal. It's not that they're not equal before the law, or at least they shouldn't be. To the extent that they are, that's an injustice. But the fact that they're metaphysically unequal is just a fact of nature, a fact of reality, which one has to accept. And if you live in a free society, then that's just it just is. You have to accept that. There's no getting around it. All right, I think William actually just posted it in the chat here.
I mean,
This will satisfy that Germans. I'm sure this German guy satisfies all of his autistic needs for order.
Oh, the Aggie band, William Schultz. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, good. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right.
Dan, what were you
on your Boy Scout comparison, I mean, the thing about this being the nature of life is that, I hate even referring to it as capitalism, because people think of that as like some ideology, when really it is just the nature of life, the nature of man, the nature of reality. But, if I'm in that situation that we're talking about where, we're putting the slow guy up front, absolutely. If I have value to gain by wanting him to reach that destination with me, 100% I want him in front of me. However, let's take Corona. If I'm being chased by a bear, I don't want to be marching behind him and be the one that gets eaten, because he can't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the motivation there matters. Like, leave us free to collaborate. Absolutely. We want to succeed. We want to grow together. But to hamstring me, or to expect me to hamstring myself because of someone else's fears or inequalities, is just blatantly immoral.
Yeah. I think the message there then is that together we can be a lot more successful. We can produce a lot more value when we're in a situation in which we can trade. But when we're in a situation in which we are hamstrung based upon everyone, in a situation in which everyone else's inability is the value and not the ability, is a situation in which we're all worse off.
Always reaching the lower down average. Yes.
Yeah, like let the people who can produce the wealth. Let us carry society forward. We're the ones that are going to carry society. And I know this sounds like, oh my God, how dare he say such a thing? Let the able produce the wealth, and let us do that, and we'll take the risks. That's fine, but let us do that so that you, the people who aren't able, and that's fine. I'm not making a moral judgment if you're disabled, or you're just not able, or you're an at-risk person for Corona or whatever. I'm not making a moral judgment on that, right? But let us get out there and let us produce the wealth, because if we aren't out there producing the wealth, then nobody is, and if nobody is, then nobody is wealthy, and we're all screwed as a result. I'm gonna Russ, I want to bounce it to you, but before, I want to ask Matt if you've got any thoughts on this.
I mean, ultimately, like you were just saying, like, the high risk people just stay home and let other people go make the wealth. Like, I've been traveling for work since this whole thing started, since before this whole thing started, for job I've been doing for like the past 4 years, and I haven't slowed down flying, up to 7-8 times a month, maybe more. I haven't really kept track, but I haven't caught it, or if I have, I haven't had any serious symptoms. People in my family have, and they've been dealing with it, but I haven't been really around them when they have had those symptoms. But let people like me go do my job, and you've really got to let those people who can do and are willing to do the things that other people don't want to do, the things they have to do. Like, yeah, there's people out there who have the talents to go build the businesses and produce that wealth. And if you don't let them go do what they're going to do, the people who might just be second or third string players down the line aren't really going to be able to fill their role and maybe move up a peg or two down the line. And we're just setting ourselves back economically by months, years, who knows how long, just by the way we're doing things.
Like the amount of money we spent on this, we're talking generations.
Right. Like who knows how many, like, will my great-great-grandchildren still be paying the interest on the debt that we're racking up right now?
Your sixth great will, in fact. Your sixth great-grandchild will.
Right. Like, and
the amount of money that we've spent on Corona, we could take every single at-risk person in the United States and ship them off to 5-star resorts in the Southern Pacific for 2 years for less money than we've spent on Corona at this point.
Absolutely. Like, I would much rather just like do that and spend that money to get everybody who might be at risk and might not want to just stay at home and be a shut-in for the next who knows how long, and just let them go have their fun while I go and live my life, because I could catch it tomorrow and I wouldn't really care. I'd just, have a bad case of the coof, and it'd be a little unpleasant, but hopefully I'd lose my taste of sense and smell for a couple of weeks. So just have a little YouTube video and get a real viral thing going where I eat about a pound or two of Carolina Reapers and not have a reaction. Be great, but
I think your body might have a reaction.
It would probably about like 6-8 hours later, and it'd be very unpleasant. But on the way in, it'd be fine. But we won't have to. You don't have to show the other part.
So you're making money off the reaction a few hours later as well. I mean, that's capitalism, baby.
Exactly. I mean, that's YouTube follows. That's Instagram. That's all sorts of things going on. Just from the free market and a free society letting me catch the Corona.
You can start a YouTube channel where it's like, man with Corona eats every pepper imaginable.
Right?
With no reaction.
I mean, I could just straight up bear mace myself in the mouth. That would be quality content. In the mouth
without reaction. Yeah.
I actually
a new genre. It'd be like non-reaction videos.
Y'all remember the ice bucket challenge?
Yeah.
And how much of a non-challenge it actually was?
Yeah.
I think it was. There was some veteran groups that decided to start the bear mace waterboarding challenge, based on that, to raise awareness for veteran suicide instead of ALS. Which, not saying ALS is a bad cause, but I actually asked someone to bear mace me and then waterboard me, and they wouldn't do it, and I was very, very disappointed. But yeah, getting the Rona and just bear macing myself would be amazing.
Wait till you get the Kung Flu. I mean, recommended suggestion. Just wait till you get the Kung Flu.
Have you ever been waterboarded?
I've never been waterboarded. I have had the CS gas in basic, and it kind of sucks. But then you breathe after you get out of it when you're on that ruck march back to your barracks, and you breathe just so fantastically. It's not even funny.
Oh, really? So it's like a really good way to clear the sinuses.
Oh yeah, they plan it out perfectly because it's like week 3 of basic. So you've had that time period where you've acclimated to being there, but then you just got everybody else's germs from the entire United States. So you've got like 4 or 5 different kinds of colds going on at once, and everybody's sick, and then they send you to the gas chamber, and then smoke you out with CS gas.
Whoa.
We just got too edgy.
The room where they fire up the CS gas that is totally appropriate for military training purposes.
This It's not an anti-Semitic Christmas show.
Absolutely not.
Comfy Christmas is now covered in Cambodian strip clubs and gas chambers. We got hours to go, folks.
I didn't know whether to be offended what Carolina Reaper. I'd never heard that before, so I was sounded like some southern dog whistle or something.
That girl,
yeah,
she
you gotta-
a Carolina Reaper. That's the kind of girl she is.
It's like the Alabama steamer, or is it the Cleveland steamer, or something like that? I'm not really sure. You have to check that for yourself on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. Well,
So, what are your thoughts on all this, Russ?
I returned to a parable which I told on HSP number 8, I believe it was 100 episodes back, and this kind of is complementary and in contrary to the Boy Scouts example. And the story is this: Luke, you know precisely where I used to work in San Francisco. It's 2nd and Brandon, right?
Yeah.
So this one day, and you know, dear listener and our fellows, for context, you have to understand that because of the way the traffic lights work on 2nd Street, there's basically this bolus of cattle, of traffic that moves slowly up the street and gets stopped in the light. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to walk out in front of this bolus, this herd. You want to get out in front of it, right?
God, I totally forgot about this. Yeah. Yeah.
And you want to get out way in front so that by the time the next block up, when the stop light changes, you get through before like this herd does. Okay. And so this one day, there was a mightily slow herd, and but there was this one little petite, very cute Chinese girl who could walk. She could walk, and I could walk. I was a very fast walker, right? And so she and I would walk. We would jump out, the light would change. We jumped out in front of the herd, right? Got across the street, through the intersection, down the block, right? Fast as we could. I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, right? And we're walking. I think had I run, I think she would have run as well. And had she run, I guarantee you I would have run. But we're looking at each other and walking. And every now and then, she beats me to the intersection. And we both look back and hear the herd coming, right? The herd coming, right? We're like, damn, will this light change? And it does, and we both go. We're off to the races, right? And we walk as fast as we possibly can, keeping in front of the herd, keeping in front as far as we could, right? And walk. And then this time, I beat her to the intersection. I'm like, yeah, all right, bitch. You know what? When the light turns, I'm going to get out in front of you this time. You heard? Get out in front of you. And here comes the herd, and they get right behind us. They're at the red light. The light changes green. Boom. Me and the Chinese girl are off to the races. Again, right? Well, gentlemen, there was an interesting synthesis that was going on here. It was this, okay? We were in direct competition with one another. She was trying to beat me. I was trying to beat her. But meanwhile, at the same time, we were making the herd that followed behind us faster, right? We were making them faster. We were making everything move faster because of our speed, right? And she hated me. I hated her. But we had a respect for one another because of the fact that she could walk fast and the fact that I could walk fast, right? And we made everybody else walk fast. And so I think regarding capitalism, this is what capitalism is. It occurred to me in that moment. This is capitalism. I think that there is an aspect to it that we have ignored thus far, that rather than we can perform as a group better together, there is an aspect of, yes, there are leaders that can make it move faster. Everything moves faster and everybody profits more, right? Because of the competition of just a couple. if not a competition of 2 against 150, right? So,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts.
There's a heartwarming moral there, but I was just picturing it the whole time as y'all in like 1980s Richard Simmons gear having a furious walk.
He was in yoga pants.
I mean, I was gonna ask if you got her number.
No, I didn't. She hated me. I didn't. She was cute. She was cute. So, and she was in yoga pants, and he was fit. So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
everyone
Jill,
out in San Francisco.
Can y'all see that?
I can see something going on here.
Yeah,
A
it's
bullet.
the zero gravity logo on a whiskey glass with a bullet in the side of it. And I'm drinking Bailey's and Grand Marnier out of it. This is a good day.
Bailey's and Grand Marnier. That's an interesting drink. I would pour myself a glass of something stronger, but I've already had like three stouts throughout the day while I've been
I do
brewing
have
my batch of
beer
beer here, and if I drink any more, I won't be able to drive to the store to pick up my last Christmas gift for the season.
Yeah, I heard
So,
that.
I thought you were gonna say if you drink any more, you're not gonna be able to drive to the store and buy more beer.
I've got beer for days. I've got like I don't know, probably like 2 or 3 gallons of my own, and a couple.
Good.
I've got to slow down, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to go buy more booze.
That was genuinely my thought process prior to the stream starting. I was like, well, it's starting at 2 p.m. my time. I was like, I'm gonna be drinking. I better go shop now.
You know, here's what I never understood when I was growing up, and until I came back to my hometown after I turned like 22, 23. My hometown was dry, like completely. You could buy beer, liquor, wine, whatever in restaurants, but you couldn't buy it in the grocery stores, gas stations. But like literally 5-minute drive down the road, you could buy anything you wanted. So if you're already drunk and you're to that point and you're like, yeah, I'm out of beer. I want more though. What is the point to having a dry city where you can just buy it right down the road and you're just gonna have more DUIs getting to the grocery store in the next town
I
over?
suspect that is exactly the point, but it's a great question.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe.
yeah. I mean, I think that is the point. You got to drive that revenue somehow.
Yeah.
Right. I would say that DUI convictions are probably a terrible way to drive revenue, because then you're worried. Then you're going to have to worry about somebody killing somebody in the process of getting that revenue for the court costs for your DUI. But I could totally walk down to the grocery store from where I lived in my hometown to buy more beer there, but I totally couldn't walk and not kill somebody to get to the next town over to buy beer.
Yeah.
That actually ties into something that I was almost not going to bring up, because I was like, oh man, I'm going to get Luke started on cop quotas. We all know how much he loves those. But no, it was a thought I had driving back home from the booze store.
Literally about to bring that up.
Was like I was driving home. I just ran to the liquor store, grabbed a bottle, was driving home to hop on the stream. And of course, as always, I'm in Texas, so there's a cop sitting there in a 30-mile-an-hour 2-lane road, just
Police
burning his day, waiting to catch somebody. So say he pulls me over. Is he expecting me to wear a mask?
That's an interesting question, Dan Johns, because the mask probably does not filter viruses, but it certainly does filter the smell of alcohol off of your breath.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple points there. Like, if I had been drinking, it would deter his ability to detect that. But also just, if I'm just driving from point A to point B and he stops me and I don't have a mask.
Take your mask off, please, sir. Take your mask off. Yeah.
I'm just saying, say I didn't have one on. He pulls me
right.
over because I'm doing 34 and a 30 or whatever. He gets within 6 feet of me and I don't have a mask to protect myself. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've thought about that so many times. Where it's like a picture of one of those like clickbait, ads, where it's like cops hate him, and then it's a guy like smirking, holding a mask up next to him, Cops hate. He continually gets away with DUIs. Cops hate him. You know.
But
I am curious. Like, do the cops expect people that they pull over right now to be
I don't
carrying a
know. And
mask?
I've wondered many times. I don't know.
I'll tell you straight up, because I work outside at night doing some like what looks like really shady shit until you figure out what I'm doing. I do like security inspections for banks at night, so I'm walking around like in a dark parking lot at night. So cops will pull up on me all the time. They almost never have masks on, and I'll have a bandana around my neck, but I'll never put it on if somebody else isn't wearing a mask. Like if I walk into a gas station at night and the person at the counter isn't wearing a mask, I don't put it on. Same thing with cops. Like, so they never care. Like they really just straight up don't.
I love that you're inspecting bank security and you have a bandana. You should also carry a 6-shooter.
I probably should. I mean, fun fact: if you carry a black powder cap and ball revolver, it is not considered a firearm by the ATF, and in Texas at least, you can open carry it all you want without a license.
That is correct.
Yeah. So it's how felons actually actually are allowed to have guns, because they just use cap and ball black powder pistols and rifles.
True story. All right. First of all, I've got to give a shout out to dearest listener for the drink idea, the Baileys and Grand Marnier and the glasses. Thank you, dearest listener. Okay. Next of all, now that we're talking about these masks, I want to return to a Freudian slip that Dave in Texas made a little bit ago when he called them wasks. I think we should meme this into reality. Wasks, right? Because
is that better than cuck muzzle?
Well, I personally like cuck muzzle.
Yeah, nothing's really better than cuck muzzle.
Well, masks, men, asks, and wasks, women, acts. That's all I noticed from Dave from Texas.
I thought like wags when I thought that.
It's funny, I did too. But hey.
What are your thoughts, Dad? Do you prefer cock muzzle or wask?
I'm just processing this. I'm going. You know what? This conversation has got pretty short legs, and I've had to shove it up to the front so I don't outrun it.
Dave, this conversation got long legs, man. You just got here. Yep.
Speaking of which, where's Shayna?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's where she's supposed to be sitting, and I got a microphone for her. In fact, I gave her the I've got a really good mic here, but I gave her the really, really good one. So
is it that Neumann?
Does that sound much better? Does that sound any better?
It does. Dave in Texas, is it that Neumann mic? Yeah, I meant to ask you that earlier. That Neumann microphone?
This is an Audio Technica 4033, the one that I'm on right now. Okay. And it's a nice mic. Now that is a Shure KSM 44.
Yeah.
All right. So William is dipping out. Thanks, William, for listening, man. Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas.
And again, thank you for listening, man.
Yeah. All right, Dave in Texas, what's that other mic? Is that the Neumann that you have?
I don't have a Neumann. The one I'm pointing at, the silver one, is a Shure KSM 44.
Oh, shoot, I don't know that. Okay. I don't know it.
Huh. But I'm running them. I'm running them both through a Universal Audio Apollo Twin interface, and I've got 2 channels in that interface, and so I happen to have 2 microphones, and then both of them are going into plugins, and the plugin is a Universal Audio 610B preamp on both of them.
Yep.
And then that's going into the console software, and then it goes into the computer, and the computer matches it up with the stream. So,
Now,
but when
Dad,
I record, I'll open up Pro Tools and I can vector all these signals right into Pro Tools.
Right. Right.
Dad, I would like you also to describe the building in which you are sitting. We can see
DPC. Are you in the DPC?
he's in the DPC.
I am in the
You can see
DPC.
So can you
So,
tell the story behind that? Because this is one of my favorite buildings of all time. I love the idea behind it. I just love it in the way you conceptualized it and how just all of everything about it.
well, thank you. Yeah, Cindy and I built a house 50 miles north of Bryan College Station out in the country, and then we bought the land in '98 and built the house in '06, and then we moved out into the house. We moved into an RV, and we lived in an RV for 2.5 years while the house was being built. First year we didn't start on the house; we just wanted to see, do we like the ranch, and we did, and then we built the house. Well, when I retired and I got out here in 2014, I was all excited about getting in the music business. So I had an office in the house. That office was adjacent right around the corner of the living room. And the only thing that would shut it off was 2 sliding doors that had glass in them. So I'm in there trying to write songs and play my guitar. And Cindy's in there watching tennis, so I'm sitting here trying to write a sensitive love ballad and understand how women feel and what they want to hear. And in the background, I hear this tennis noise as Azarenka's playing. Hoo! 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 And I'm going, what is that? Anyway, so I would turn my volume up. Well, then Cindy would turn the volume up. So then we got the volume wars going. And I went, this sucks. So a bunch of my music buddies and I went to visit one of our cohorts who had a ranch up in Missouri. And we got there and he had a metal building. And on the second floor, big wide stairwell leading up to the second floor. Second floor was finished out in OSB, plywood floors. And he had a cheap Oriental rug from Sam's on the floor, a couple of couches. And that was his guitar room. And I went, I want one of these. So I came back and I said, Cindy, I want to build a metal building. And she said, all right, what's it going to cost? And so it ended up costing 3 times the original budget because I thought, well, I'm going to finish it out in OSB. Well, geez, I might as well put a carport on it so we can park the RV next to it. And through those windows behind me, you can't really see it, but there's an RV parked out there. And I thought, well, I want a bathroom too, because I don't want to have to go back to the house to go to the bath. It's 60 feet away and it might be raining or something. I might trip. So I want a bath. Well, if I'm going to put a bathroom in there, I might as well put a deep sink so I can do dishes and stuff. Well, if I'm going to do that and there's plumbing and a septic tank, well, I might as well have a shower. So it's got a shower and then
You can live out there.
And so basically we had to come up with a name for it. And so the name of it is the DPC, and that stands for Divorce Prevention Center. And so I have a logo. My logo it says for better or worse, but not for lunch. And it's got the circle with the slash through it, the Divorce Prevention Center. Hold on.
And you can see the
Shayna
letters
has showed up
in the background.
So anyway, this is
Shayna in the house. Shayna in the house.
Where I write music. Sound check.
Can't hear anything.
Well, that's because you don't have a headset on.
Oh wow, I have a headset.
All right.
Cool.
Merry Christmas, Shayna. It's so good to see you.
Merry Christmas to y'all.
Yes.
All right, we got we got we're there's 5 people in my immediate family. Me and my mom and my dad and my sister and my brother. So we're rolling deep in the 3/5 clause up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Everybody's actually here. It's just not.
Get a little
here.
closer to the mic.
Yeah, you need to go a little.
About a fist away, right?
Yeah, the Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. You need to get about a fist away from the mic.
Not like
Make out with it, basically.
No, don't make out with the mic. I spent a lot of money on that, and I don't want your COVID cooties on it.
You know what I find
Although
funny is
we're not exactly social distancing here, Shana. This is like, ew, yeah.
Americans call it COVID, but in Europe we call it Corona.
I adamantly call it Corona, just because when they started COVID, I was like, no, I'm not calling it a second thing.
It's
COVID sounds
interesting.
cooler.
I call it the Kung Flu, but it did
During Channel 2 here.
transmogrify. It did
You know,
to the Corona, to Rona, to 19, to all of this kind of stuff. It's an interesting phenomenon.
If I'm talking to somebody in a professional sense, I call it Corona. Rest of the time, like talking to y'all, it's going to be Wu flu, Kung flu. I mean, what have you. But if it's somebody that I like, if I'm talking to somebody at work, I have to call it Corona. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll give you that at least.
I'm convinced.
I call it the virus. I just say the virus, you know? So
I think they came up with COVID-19 to make it sound more scientific, to make it sound more official. You know,
I think correct.
I think
like-
it sounds more sinister that way.
Well,
yeah, like
COVID.
I'm pretty sure that it was just a way to not call it the China flu, like the Spanish flu was, which actually originated in China.
indeed.
So it was totally just somebody saying, "Hey, let's call it COVID-19," so we wouldn't call it the China virus.
I think
because that
Corona.
would
I
apparently
think what it
be
is
wrong.
that Corona just sounds too playful and unserious. You know,
Right.
so they're like, oh no, we need to have a more scientific, serious name.
Well,
So they came up with COVID-19. You know,
now those of us that are Epic Times subscribers are used to the Epic Times referring to it as the Chinese Communist Party virus,
Yeah.
CCP virus.
Well,
And they
the
said, hey, they
CCP
did it.
is a
That's what we're going
virus
to call it.
in and of themselves.
What?
I said the CCP is a virus in and of themselves.
Hey, don't get us canceled, bro. Easy.
I don't give a shit. Go on, Matt. Go on.
I mean, I'm just
If we
saying
don't- if we don't
they've
get
only
canceled, then we're doing
infected like
something
half
wrong.
the Democratic Party, most of the educational institutions in this country, and most of the Democratic voters. So we need a vaccine against Chinese communism. So what's the answer to that? That's the question everybody needs to be asking right now.
No, I'm
Couldn't
getting it
agree
out
more.
of your face.
And by the way, my dad is a veterinarian, and I was a veterinarian. Well, he still is. And I used to work for him constantly. And coronavirus is a thing that has been known about since the 70s, right? There was vaccination for it, right? And so coronavirus is somewhat of an innocuous, generic descriptor for a type of virus, right? So the question becomes, why did it have to be named COVID-19? And Luke, it is coronavirus. COV is coronavirus. ID is 2019. That's what it is. Coronavirus 19. Why did they meme this into reality? It's an interesting question because we've known about coronavirus forever.
I think it's the same reason why Obama refused to call ISIS ISIS and he called them ISIL.
ISIL. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's the same phenomenon. Like it's too playful. It's too common.
Yeah.
You know, we need this to be more official, more uncommon, more so scientific, if you will. So it can't be ISIS. It must be ISIL. And
Well,
so when he was up there talking, he's like, we got a problem on our hands, and ISIL, we're gonna have to start taking them more seriously, and what ISIL does next is, so he goes on and on about ISIL, and it's like the same thing with like Corona and COVID-19, and nobody over here calls it COVID; they call it Corona. And I really do. I think it's because they need to like in America, they are just, and I think this comes from the Frankfurt School. They just are masters of linguistics and language, and just like the slightest little tweak can totally change how something comes off. You know what I mean?
I do. I think that it is linguistic and semantic interference. I do. Regulation, a little bit, but more programming. Okay. Now, what I was going to say a moment ago is that my dad has a more sinister theory about Obama saying ISIL, and that was that he was re-invoking the term the Levant.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. that was another aspect of it. Yeah.
But that exactly falls in line with what you're saying, right? That falls exactly in line. So yeah.
It was it was sort of a throwback to the fact that like the Jews never actually had the Levant.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So yeah, I know about that narrative too, and I think that's right as well.
All right, I'll bite. What's the Levant?
Damn, Dave in Texas. Seriously? It's Jordan. It's everything east of Israel. That's the Levant, right? It's the Middle East, east of Israel, up to Saudi Arabia.
All right.
Oh, it's a geographic area.
It is.
Oh, so I just did my Googles. So the Levant is an approximate historical geographical term referring to a large area in the eastern Mediterranean region of Western Asia. In its narrowest sense, it is equivalent to the historic region of Syria, which included present-day Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Palestine, and most of Turkey, southeast of the middle Euphrates. In its historical sense, the Levant included all of the eastern Mediterranean with its islands. That is, it included all of the countries along with the eastern Mediterranean shores, extending from Greece to Cyrenaica in eastern Libya. So,
yeah, it's the Middle East, and now connotatively, Dave in Texas, the term Levant excludes Israel, but there is one way of looking at what Obama meant when he said it, and that would include Israel. You understand?
I'm sharing my screen right now, so everybody on the stream should be able to see.
I do.
Dude, I saw that, and the first thing I thought was, ooh.
So, bottom line, Obama was cucking to ISIS and giving them more de jure territory than they really had.
Yes. Well, he was actually funding and enabling ISIS, but
I mean, let's not mention that one. Just like he totally wasn't having or forcing gun stores along the Texas border with Mexico to sell guns to the cartels.
Oh yeah.
That totally didn't get Brian Terry killed just a little over 10 years ago.
Yep. Fact.
So have y'all gone back and listened to the first episode that y'all did when Corona first came out?
I have not, but I've thought a lot about it.
You know, I vaguely remember that one, and there were a lot of great jokes about Corona Chan. I miss those days. I miss the days of Corona Chan.
Oh, Corona Chan is still alive and well.
I mean, now Corona Chan just stalks the land.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Well, she's hotter than ever now. So there's that. She's hotter than ever. Corona Chan gets hotter as it goes on, right? Yeah. Oh God, Luke, what was the original one that you turned me on to? What was it? Ebola Chan.
Yeah. It used to be Ebola Chan. There's a whole genre of this, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do have to do a mea culpa because my dad just totally called me out on this. The first episode which we ever discussed Corona, I said my prediction was that the Chinese, their culture, so it's a little bit of a mea culpa, a little bit of a I was right. Okay, so the first episode we did about Corona, I was like, okay, I had just traveled to China, Hong Kong. I'd flown with the Chinese. And I was like, what's going to happen is that this virus is going to make it over to the West. And then it's not going to spread very far because like we have cleanliness standards and, you know, the Chinese, this is not racist. I'm just saying this is a matter of fact. They have absolutely no cleanliness standards. I remember in the airport in not Beijing, but oh shit, it's in the west of China. Anyways, I was in the airport there, and like there must have been 10 people that pissed and then just walked right by me as I'm washing my hands. None of them washed their hands. And I was like, Jesus Christ, okay. And so what I said was, when this virus makes it over here, it's not going to make it very far because they're just spreading it like crazy because they have no cleanliness standards. They have no standards for personal hygiene. And yeah, I couldn't have been more wrong. So I was totally wrong.
I don't understand how it mysteriously disappeared in China so quickly, and it's been here for like a year. Is it just it was there for that long and we didn't know about it, or are they suppressing the data and the cases to make it seem like it's not there anymore? Like, how is it with our cleanliness standards? If what you said, Luke, was true, you would think that it would have vanished here even faster.
So that's what that was what I was about to say. So I had about 2 weeks ago, I was in like our annual sales call for my company, and somebody, we have one sales representative in China, and he sent a picture from China, and the picture is him at a conference. They're having conferences. And in the picture, there's 30 people standing shoulder to shoulder, nobody wearing masks, nobody social distancing, nobody doing anything, nothing. And they're at they're holding conferences. And so I asked, like, what? So my office is right next to a guy who's married to a Chinese national. And so I went to him. I was like, hey man, so like, what's up with your family? Like, how are they doing? His family lives in Shanghai. And I was like, how's it going over there? And he was like, oh yeah, no, everything's, schools are back in session. Everything's back to normal, totally and completely. And I was like, okay, how is that possible? And he was like, or I asked him, I was like, do they like have a vaccine? Are they vaccinated? And he was like, oh no, they don't have a vaccine. I was like, so how's that possible? And he goes, oh, well, the Chinese, they listen to their government, and they stayed indoors. And I said, okay, but here's
up, man.
I was like, here's the deal. So the logic here is that you don't have a vaccine, right? And we don't have a vaccine. So that's one premise upon which we can operate. Then the next premise is that the lockdowns, quote unquote, the lockdowns worked. That's another premise. So then they've now returned to normal life, and that's another premise. So then wouldn't logically it make the case, or make sense, or be the case rather, that the virus spreads again? And he was like, well, they just listen to their government. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, I can't have this conversation. If they're not taking vaccine, they're not vaccinated, they're not social distancing, they're not wearing masks. If it spread in the first place, it would spread in the second place. Full stop.
So do you interpret that as there really are cases there? It's not getting reported?
I think there really are cases there. I think it's just totally unimportant. I think that the West is overinflating the importance of this whole event. It's no more complicated than that.
I think there were massive cases, and they welded them into their apartments, those who had it, and they burned people that were still alive. That's what I think. I think there were tens of thousands, not hundreds.
Yeah, I'm sure there were tons of cases, but I really believe that a sickness is going around. That's it. That's all it is. It's no more complicated than that.
There's another item I've seen in the Epoch Times newspaper. The number of cell phones in China over the last year or so has dropped by 20 million.
This is true. I read that piece.
Russ, your video is off.
No, intentionally.
What are you doing? Just kidding.
I'm doing some heroin real fast. I'm doing some heroin. Sorry.
Shana, be careful what you blurt out.
Careful what you ask. You might just get an honest answer.
This is what I grew up with.
But the thing about communist societies, which has always been the problem with the USSR, which was why it failed as soon as Perestroika came around and all of the Communist Party officials got kicked out of the factories, is once you have people that are actually being honest, communist societies don't work. So if you have a country like China saying, "Oh yeah, there's no new cases here," it's obviously because the local party officials are lying to the state party officials that are lying to the national party officials, just so they don't lose their jobs and might actually get promoted because, oh hey, this city over here doesn't have any cases.
Yeah, but they could be lying in the affirmative or the negative,
Right?
depending on what they need to lie about.
Right, and then you can, oh well, yeah, we don't have any spread because A, we're not testing for this. We're not gonna report it, even if we were testing for it. And the ones we are testing for, and they're testing positive. We're just gonna weld them into their apartments, and maybe they have enough food to last themselves for like the 2 weeks that they're gonna have to be quarantined. And if not, they die, and we don't care because communism doesn't actually care about individual citizens because we have so many of them.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. Dan, you looked like you were about to say something.
Yeah, like I will concede that perhaps China is having mass deaths and we don't know about it, but honestly, I can't lean that direction. If you compare this to, let's take another big communist conflict. Let's go back to the space race. We had this posturing that was going on between us and USSR. Theirs was completely under the radar. All of their space programs, as we were having this Cold War, this competition, everything that they did was completely under the radar. They didn't let anybody know about any of it until something happened. Okay, they got a guy up into orbit 17 times. Now we release that. Meanwhile, JFK in America, he's projecting everything that we're doing out into the public. He wants everybody in the world to know that. That's the difference between a communist society and a capitalist one, is that we want that exposure. We want to be like, yes, even though obviously he was more left wing, but we want that exposure out there. So when I look at this situation and the fact that China isn't broadcasting anything still at this point, even though America has spun it into, the media and the government have combined to spin it into this huge thing to control everyone, the fact that they're over there not saying anything, it makes me lean not towards 20 million people have died that they're not telling us about. It makes me lean towards they realize that they don't really have anything to gain out of it other than letting us continue to destroy ourselves over it.
It's an intriguing example. Yes.
So Dave and Shayna are conspiring over there. I can see.
We're discussing what we're going to drink for the rest of this particular live stream.
Ah, okay.
A good
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, and that is an intriguing point that you made there, Dan. Was like basically what does China have to gain by being honest about this when we're going to be honest about it? Oh well, yeah, the United States is so awful and their whole system is so terrible because they've had all these people dying. Well, who knows how many people in China have actually died from this thing? We're never going to know because they're never going to be honest. But we're going to look worse because, well, we were actually telling the truth and probably overestimating the numbers because every positive test was counted as a new case, even if that person had already been confirmed as having it before.
Yes, Matt. Yes.
So China looks like the great guy in, well, yeah, we stopped the spread of this thing by just welding people in our homes. And by the way, civil liberties don't matter because, the virus, and America does such a horrible job by letting people be free.
See, that's the direction I lean, honestly, because I still I don't deny that coronavirus exists. Obviously, it exists. I don't think it's a big deal. No, to this day, I never have, and I still don't think it's a big deal. I think that, if you could put aside what the media and the government has tried to do with this, at the end of the day, people that were going to die died. Yes, there's the statistical anomalies. You'll have a healthy 30-year-old out of a million that will die from it, and it sucks. And I feel bad for everybody that's lost somebody from this. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of this is just people that had other conditions. No one has died from the flu this year.
Indeed.
Anyone that died from the flu is a corona
Roll
death.
over into Kung Flu statistics.
And I'm not even getting into people that got eaten by a shark and happen to have corona. I'm not even getting into that extremity. I'm just talking about stuff that's somebody that's got diabetes. Somebody, like, I sent something to Luke the other day that was this fantastic article out in San Francisco that had a picture of a woman whose hand had turned black and that she was so destroyed by coronavirus. And I saw the picture and I was like, she's got fucking diabetes. And sure enough, I click into it, I read it, I do a little research. It's a woman that had diabetes. It was morbidly obese.
And
I feel bad for all of that. I don't want that to happen to that woman, obviously. But
Dan, you must admit, you must realize that it's been proven that bull sharks are attracted to corona.
You are much more likely to be attacked by a great white.
Yeah.
If you got the Wu flu, that's a pheromone for them. It turns them on.
Well,
They're gonna try to mate with you. If you get impregnated by a shark, it's because you had the Wu flu.
I mean, what would be worse, being eaten or impregnated by a shark? I don't even know.
Lady and gentlemen, it goes back to the original premise, which is the one that matters. What is morally correct to do? Okay? What is morally correct to do? Is what we're seeing morally correct.
Now, the interesting point that we talked about with the fact that so many people have died of the coronavirus that were going to die based on the fact that they had pre-existing conditions is, while we're not talking about morals, and we need to be talking about morals within ourselves.
Yes.
But the point, the thing we can really hammer home to the left is when it comes to their constant push for expanding things like Obamacare, basically expanding into universal health care, is there's no way in hell, pragmatically, that I'm going to pay for universal health care when over half of the United States, including myself, is overweight. Why would I do that when we have these pre-existing conditions that we give to ourselves voluntarily? I'm just paying for somebody to make bad choices and not have to pay the consequences for that.
Dude, I've been thinking about that for like a long time. It's like, I think that like being morbidly obese is like the DWI of health insurance.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at like SNAP, food stamp, whatever you want to call it, payments. Most, like a huge portion of that goes to just junk food or just, buying 2 liters of Mountain Dew. So you pay people to guzzle down Mountain Dew and therefore give themselves obesity, morbid obesity, diabetes. And then next thing they know, Medicaid is paying for them to have their foot amputated because we paid for them to consume, just cups of sugar on, by the hour.
I just want to take a moment to appreciate your pronunciation.
Hold up, Luke. Matt Fulton, I simply have to hear you say diabetes.
Oh, diabetes?
Dude, that's literally what I was about to say, Russ. I was like, can we take a moment to appreciate his pronunciation of diabetes?
I'm just going off the Wilford Brimley guide to diabetes, which, I'm not trying to make too many jokes about diabetes. My dad's got diabetes. If I don't change my life habits in a significant manner, I'll probably have diabetes. But it's a preventable condition in 95% of the time. But we don't address that fact when it comes to pre-existing conditions and what is and isn't something that people can control. So,
and to take that to the next level, if I hadn't had to buy $600 worth of Mountain Dew to give other people the diabetes, I wouldn't need my $600 back from the government right now.
Exactly. Had I not been paying for all of that Mountain Dew and all of that money to pay for people in Pakistan to wonder if they need to wear a hijab or not, because do I identify as a woman or not? I could totally not have to have a stimulus check right now.
Yeah, but like, I think we can all agree that that's the back door to corrupting Islam. So I'm totally on board with the.
So at the end of the day,
programs in Pakistan.
Wilford Brimley was based in Red Pill to take down Islam. God rest his soul.
Yeah, I'm
Based
totally
in
on
Red
board.
Pill, Wilford Brimley. Absolutely.
I'm totally on board with red pilling Muslims in Pakistan about gender identity, and
I'm Wilford Brimley, and I oppose Islam.
Oh, I used to completely ignore all of those spam calls that you get from Indian and Pakistani hacker spammers. I just love to ask to pick it up now and ask, hey, are you from India or Pakistan? And then ask why they support the Haqqani network. Or if they've got the car warranty scam going, ask them or tell them that I have a 1947 Hudson Commodore and see what they say. Usually they just hang up on me.
well, Shana, I want to bring you in a little bit. So, what's on your mind?
I don't know. You and I were talking. What was that? A week or so ago? I don't know. I'm just super depressed by a lot. Just a lot. I feel. I'm.
Can you get a little bit? Can you get a little closer to the mic?
You want one fist?
I told you I didn't want to make it. Like, this is how close I am to it.
Oh,
Is that-
Dave
is
in
that better?
Texas cometh with the drinks.
Okay,
Dave in Texas cometh with the drinks.
Make it work.
No.
Make it better. I don't know. Anyways, I complained to Luke that how just depressed I was about still the election. I'm still just
Yeah, me too.
I read so much about the fraud and how obvious it is, and how can we ever trust an election again? Is the American system, there's always the idea that America is going to collapse at some point.
Cheers,
to that.
Cheers, comrade.
All right, I'm cheersing you as well. Cheers.
Here's Dave in Texas.
That's an important point, though, is that I feel like this is a comparison I was drawing just prior to the stream, honestly, because I was rewatching a movie I watched years ago when it first came out, The Big Short, about the financial collapse back in 2008 or whenever it was. And as you watch that movie, I mean, obviously it's a fictionalized account of what actually happened, but as you watch it, you can see the frustration of the people that know what's going on, that are buying these shorts, that are doing these default bets.
Yep.
And you can see their frustration as, reality is continuing to unfold the way that should pay them off. But there is so much fraud structured in that YouTube, I'm not saying that fraud changed the election. There's so much with all of the different layers of it that's propping itself up that you just had to wait to that point where finally it reached a snapping point and the Lincoln Log House came down and everything got realigned. I mean, it was painful. Obviously, a lot of people lost money, homes, jobs, etc. But I feel like that's a good comparison to what we're looking at right now with the election, is that we can see these things. We can see all of it. We can see that Texas lawsuit that, just factually speaking, should have gone to the Supreme Court. They should have taken that up as a case.
Well, it factually did, and they factually threw it out. Dan Johns, that's why I made the comparison with the dollar amount from TARP 1 and TARP 2 to this moment. It is eerily similar. All of it is eerily similar.
But my thing is, we're seeing all these points where reality should take hold and we should be able to go in a positive direction. And we just keep running into fraud and structures at every point. And that's the same thing you saw in 2008 with the housing crisis until it all finally reached that breaking point.
Yeah.
And so we're pushing, and it's frustrating for us, obviously, being red-pilled people, that we see what reality is.
Easy.
I'm
Native American pilled. Easy.
I'm okay with getting myself banned.
No.
We're Native American pilled, not red.
All right, we're Warren pilled. All right, so we're Warren pilled people.
Yeah. We're good with the Warren pilled.
No.
Indeed.
thinking of all these things, I think of two things. I think of the Gadsden flag, but the snake with the grenade in his hand, saying like,
I swear
fuck
to
with
God,
me and I'll kill you all.
Yeah, exactly.
And Atlas shrugged and just going galt. When is the point where we just
Shrug.
go the John Galt route and just do our absolute base minimum to survive, and just, okay, you're not going to go ahead and have a government that actually represents our interests, or at least has fair elections, so the people who are addicted to free shit by the government can at least have get their candidate in office, but it's a fair election anyway. If we're not going to have that, we're just not going to contribute, and you're going to have to keep borrowing money from the Federal Reserve, and you're either going to listen to our demands or you'll completely tank the value of the dollar, and we've prepped for it anyway, so go ahead. Fine.
I mean, in my weaker drunken moments, I send Luke essays about that.
I mean,
oh my God, man, we're getting to a point where I'm going to live by myself in the country with my guns, or I'm going to leave the country, and then I wake up sober the next day, and I'm like, that was a bit much, but I appreciate my sentiment. All right, drunk Dan, pat you on the head.
Like, seriously, Chad and I have these conversations about what is that one thing that has to happen. Like, you can't just be the frog in the boiling pot of water. You can't sit there forever. You're going to boil to death. Like, what is the one thing that's going to happen that does exactly that? Drive, like, we're looking for a piece of property, like drive us out to the cabin with our prepper, bug out bag. And what is the one thing that's going to have to happen in order for us to do that? And for Chad, it's the gun registry.
Yeah.
Well, you guys a reality check on this bugging out and living. So Cindy and I live on 136 acres. We live 50 miles away, and we're already there. I mean, I'm not saying we're preppers.
Can you carve out one, Dave in Texas? Can you carve out one?
Carve out one. What are you talking about?
When I bug out, I'm coming to you. So get ready.
No. Wait. You're missing my point. You don't want to come here, and I'll tell you. There is no bug out. There is no prepping. There is no. I'm going to be totally independent.
Turn your mic down a little bit, just a little bit. You're overmodulating just a bit.
How about now?
Yeah,
Your gain was just a little bit too high.
I just moved it away. The gain is right. I just was too close. So here's the deal. When Hurricane Ike came through and Houston was shut down for about 3 or 4 weeks, remember they didn't have power for 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. All right. We thought we were not going to have power out here, and we had an Airstream. So I went out and filled up all the fresh water tanks in the Airstream, freshwater tank. And then our electrical stuff comes from the Bell Falls Electric Co-op.
Make it quick, Dave from Texas. Make it quick.
I've been bitching at Luke about how I hate the long form ever since you guys started. And I've been sitting here going, when are we going to freaking discuss something substantial? I've been waiting an hour. It's my turn now.
Oh.
So there you go. All right. So just lighten up, long form dudes.
You are
Russ eternally BTFO'd.
All right. So just sit down. Rest, Army, as we used to say. So I was sitting out here. I'm going, yeah, I got my woman out here. I got my ranch. I got my RV. I'm ready. What if the power goes down? Now our well doesn't work. Now, you can live for about 40 days without food. You only last about 3 or 4 days without water. So if the Bell Falls Electric Power Company fails, we either A, have to leave the ranch or start walking 2 miles to the Brazos River for brown, silty water, or I got to figure out a way to get the well going. Okay, I'm going to buy a $5,000 generator and get it out here so my generator works. Oh yeah, now here's the scenario. Bell Falls power goes down, Dave's generator goes on, and now what's the most important fluid on my ranch besides water? Gasoline. So I can't get water without either diesel or unleaded. In order to get to the gas station, I've got to drive to Calvert. Now, guess what gets the water, gets the gas out of the tanks underneath the gas station? Electricity, because the pumps are all electric. So this nonsense of we're just going to go be independent and live out in the country, not unless you're going to be Jeremiah Johnson, Robert Redford in a coonskin cap and go live in the frickin' mountains with a big ass knife and then kill a bear once a year. That's what survival is. So in our modern day, we've got to think in terms of, yep, we're interdependent and there's no way around it. That's the point.
And my depression.
Okay. I think what
Matt, if I may prevail the favor. Okay, Shayna first. I think the trigger moment has already happened. It was the election. Okay? I think it has already happened. Okay. The real trigger moment, I agree with Chad, is when they come say papers, please, and give us your guns. I agree. Okay. Now, Dave, in Texas, there is a bug out moment. There is. And I just told you, and I agreed with Chad, that that's what I think it is. Okay. The question becomes response, Dave, in Texas. Response. And you're already 10 steps ahead of the game. Okay. 10 steps. You'll be okay. Okay.
What is let's just wind your thought forward. What's the shooting war look like? I'm convinced we are already in World War III. So who's the enemy and who do we shoot at is the question. Well,
and
the
and
enemy,
what are the bullets?
And what are the bullets? Yeah. So first of all,
hard to get bullets right now. It's hard to get
bullets. Now this is really going to be shocking because a lot of us are gun owners here. I think bullets are irrelevant at this point. And here's why. Technology in the last 15 to 20 years has made warfare as we know it completely different. So
Agreed.
the days of massed numbers of troops in the open are gone. There's not going to be a D-Day invasion again. It's too easy to wipe out an invasive force with all the weapons we've got today. It's too sophisticated. It ain't happening.
I don't want to interrupt.
So if you're going to attack the
that.
United States, how do you attack the United States? You attack it through the media, and you attack it through words. And the soldiers are mercenaries that are hired with money, and that's what Antifa and BLM is. They are the enemy, and they're bought with money. And so this is really a much more sophisticated war right now than I had originally envisioned. And so this is how my evolution thinking has evolved in the last couple of months. So anyway, there you go.
The soldiers are us right here, Dave, in Texas. The soldiers are us. Okay. The enemy you have correctly identified. It is an ideological / cultural war. It's not going to be shooting in the streets. Actually, I think it will, but
it already is, though.
Exactly. That's yeah.
It already is. It's just not mass scale.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It's a guerrilla war. You're right, Luke. It's not going to be. And when I said bullets are irrelevant, I mean you're not going to need boxes and boxes of ammo. You're going to need a gun and 15 rounds in case you happen to get caught in the intersection like the guy in Austin did, and here comes some crazy waving an AK at you.
Yeah. When I said it depends on what the bullets are, I meant that like very much metaphorically. Like some of them are going to be physical.
Did you? Sorry. Yeah.
What's that?
I misunderstood you. Sorry about that.
Oh no, not you, Russ, but my dad as well. Like I don't mean that all of them are going to be. I don't mean like, are we talking like, Shayna, help me out here. Are we talking like 5.5, 5.62 or whatever? I don't know.
5.5.
Yeah,
5,
like
5,
I don't
6.
mean. Yeah. I don't mean literally like what kinds of bullets. I mean metaphorically what the bullets are. Are the bullets ideas? Are the bullets physical bullets? Are they, I'm not talking caliber. I'm talking like metaphorically what they are.
I think here's the battle that we're in right now. Right now, you guys alluded to this a minute ago. First of all, if you're not reading the Epic Times, you need to. They're the ones that are reporting all this fraud.
Dave in Texas.
All right. So the fraud is epic. There were day-long hearings in the legislatures of 4 or 5 of the states.
By the way, Dave, I'm sorry, I must interrupt you. Okay, you say it epic, and this is a weird phenomenon. Luke says epoch, and I say apoc, and so the way they say it themselves is somewhere between where Luke and I say it. But everybody now similarly says Epic Times.
Epic.
Sorry, just a shit post. Go on, Dave.
Yeah. So I'm watching this unfold, and it appears to me that there was epic incidences of questions. And this guy that issued the report the other day, not in his capacity as a Trump administration official, but in his own private capacity, I want to say Sanchez, but that's not his name. It's Navarez or something like that. He issued a report. It's 20 or 30 pages, and he outlined and identified specifically what is the evidence about the fraud.
Man, Peter Navarro.
Navarro. There you go, Navarro. So that report is kind of the crux of the whole thing. So Texas comes into the Supreme Court, and what they did was they refused to take the case on the basis of standing, and standing is a legal term, which means we're not going to look at what you're saying. We're looking at you and saying you don't have the right to be here. So we're not going to even listen. So the Supreme Court said, you, Texas, don't have the right to attack another state on what they're doing. We're not going to hear it. Well, the two justices that dissented, they dissented and said, well, actually, in the union that we have, a state does have the right to present at this level, and we should have heard it. So they wanted to hear it, but they said they would not have granted relief, but they didn't really say what that meant. I don't know if that means that we, the Supreme Court, don't want to get in the business of deciding elections, which, trust me, if you're the Supreme Court, you probably don't want to get in the business of deciding elections.
That is what it means. Yeah. Yes.
So I'm sitting here thinking now, so you got the Supreme Court shooting Texas down on standing, but there's also a whole bunch of cases that we don't see. I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 80, 100 of them in all of these states that have been shot down. That have been shot down or denied by a bunch of judges. These judges are all elected officials. Who voted for them?
Indeed.
Okay, down at the local level.
They're not elected. They're not elected. They're appointed.
No, they're elected. It varies state by state.
DAs are. But
my point is this: we as soldiers in this war, how do we fight the war? I've been trying to figure that out. The answer is we have to educate the citizens in our precinct, in our county, and explain to them, look, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, right, left, whatever, if the ballot box is not sacred, the only alternative is not good.
Yeah.
So this judge, you need to point out the next time you go to vote. Remember, you go into the ballot box, and here's a list of judges, and you don't know their names, you don't know who they are, you don't know what they've done, you don't know a thing about them. So you pull the lever, and it's all the down ballot effect. We probably need to be studying who all these local judges are that we're electing.
Totally,
I have been,
because those are the ones that are kicking out the state that are denying Pennsylvania's deal on standing. No, you don't have standing. You don't have standing. Whatever. Blah blah blah. So anyway, just cross your fingers and hope Sidney Powell gets the crack in some air at the Supreme Court level. But
that's going to be months. That's going to be months, and we need to hope for more simple, basic things. Dave in Texas, we need to hope today before 11 p.m. that Mike Pence refuses the electoral appointments from Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Not Alaska. I'm sorry, Arizona. We need
So
to
help me out. Is this the day that the one congressman and the one senator have to object to the vote? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
geez, that is a big day.
I think besides that, like as I've pondered over the course of us talking here, what I brought up earlier, I mean that we haven't seen 4D chess from Trump in a while, but what if his objection to this relief bill is his final 4D chess? Like, what if he can get the two sides fighting again over this omnibus bill, over the relief bill, have them shut the government down, and on January 6th, the government's not open.
Damn.
And we have, like, if y'all, I don't know if y'all follow the Donald.win, but when Trump posted that call to arms for January 6th, there are a lot of people planning on showing up in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. So if the government's shut down, Pence isn't counting the votes because the government's been shut down for a week or two, whatever it would be at that point, like Trump did a year or two ago over the wall. And you've got, even if it's conservative estimate, even if you just have a few 100,000 people in Washington, D.C., and the government's shut down and they're not counting the Electoral College, that's a fucking moment right there. Like, if you have the people and not the representatives, because the government has shut itself down, and you have hundreds of thousands of people in the street demanding, we want this.
Dan John,
We're tired of all this fraud. We're tired of the media shutting us down.
I have not
turned my video and my audio off really quick. I'll be right back. Back. Give me 1 minute.
Okay. Shayna, I think the Rubicon. I'm sorry, that's the wrong metaphor. I think the one too far step has already been taken. Okay. Now, so Dan Johns, let's get back to your premise. Do you think that President Trump summoned defenders on January 6th?
With his tweet?
Yep.
I can't determine his intent behind that, but I can determine the result. I can look at how many people viewed that as him making the call to arms.
How many people?
I can't give you a number, but I can look at what I see online, and I mean, I know it's a skewed perspective because when you go into the parts of the internet that are the people that are responding to this, it's the echo chamber. It's the opposite of Twitter, so it's not the leftist echo chamber; it's the right echo chamber.
Right.
And I mean, you can harken back to previous episodes of things where people say they're going to show up for a protest.
Well, the last two have been wildly successful, and Trump didn't call those. To be fair, he didn't. Right?
Have you been on the Donald.win?
Yeah, I go there daily. Yeah.
So they've existed for a while now, and
you know why they exist? They got thrown off Reddit.
They got thrown off Reddit, and the most popular thread they have ever had in their existence is from a few days ago when the God Emperor posted that tweet. And it's like, I forget the exact phrasing of it, but it's something along the lines of, "Daddy called, boys, let's go."
Yeah. I saw it. Yeah.
The God Emperor.
Now, is this a literal call to arms, as in saying we're showing up to DC?
That's how they're taking it. That's why I'm saying I don't know his intent, but that's how the people are responding to it. Is they're on there planning not just to get to DC on that day, but to get there days ahead of time. They're telling each other, "Don't fly, drive if you can." They're telling you how to get guns in because it's not an open carry place. So they are taking it that way, regardless of whether or not
they're going to make the White House an autonomous zone.
Now, this could be huge because this could not be Trump crossing the Rubicon or the Democrats crossing the Rubicon. This could be the American citizenry crossing the Rubicon and marching through DC, ARs and morale patches in hand, ready to just take charge of the government and get the results that we need.
And it remains to be seen if they follow through on what they say on the internet, because the internet is the internet, obviously. But that's what I'm saying is, like, if he is stirring this infighting over this Corona bus bill, and he can stall that, and he can shut the government down, and then January 6th, the government shut down, and these people happen to follow through on what they're saying they're going to do, and you have mobs storming the streets of DC that have armed themselves, that literally could occupy Congress.
Okay, does anybody on this stream actually believe that that's going to happen?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying I think
There
this
is
is
no
something
way
that's...
in hell that is going to happen.
I mean,
There's no way.
if you had, I mean, how many?
I will tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because the right doesn't do that. The left does that.
We got Nathan.
So the right is not. I don't know.
But we're not talking about the right, though. We're talking about Trump supporters.
Well,
we're not talking about conservatives.
Okay. Well, still, I would even say Trump supporters. I would say they are a peaceful group of protesters. They're not insurrectionists like BLM and Antifa. They're not.
But to that point that you're asking about, that point that you were asking about, what is the point where we do make a stand? So yes, in general, Trump supporters don't want to do that, but it's starting to smell like they're getting to that point that they are willing to do that.
I think how do you resolve this is everybody just walks away. If you're a peaceful dissenter, you're going to walk away. You're not going to actually fight for America because the odds are stacked against you. So from my perspective on me and Chad, it was, when do we leave our home and go to live in the country and become preppers living on the land?
That's the way it should be, Shayna. It should be individualists betting on this, right? But there is a collectivist aspect to this that is now invoked. And so, Shayna, most respectfully and lovingly, I'm gonna bet again you on this. I will
take it. I'll take the bet.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but is there a point? I mean, like, if there's a walk away point, then at what point? Oh man, this is a tough one. I mean, at what point do you stop walking away and you start walking forward?
Yeah.
I had a phone call the other day. I have a friend of mine who I went to A&M with, and he graduated from the Corps a couple of years ahead of me. Airborne Ranger, Green Beret, speaks multiple languages, and had a long, distinguished career. And I'll tell you privately more about him, so it'll flesh it out and even make it more interesting. But I won't disclose those details here. But I called him the other day with this very thought. I said, hey, if indeed this fraud that we've seen at an epic scale on these hearings in front of the state legislatures in multiple of these swing states, battleground states, if that fraud is true, well, then that means we're under attack by domestic enemies. I said, now, as a military person, and you as a military person, the guy that I was talking to on the phone, we all took an oath to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. I said, if the election was a sham and it was put in place by domestic enemies, what's the plan for the military? I asked the guy that, and he said he thought about it, and he voted Republican, but he doesn't like Trump. He doesn't like Trump's leadership style. He thinks he was ineffective in many ways, hire, fire. He thought he made a circus out of the government, but he voted Republican because he's basically a conservative guy. And he actually said, well, if that fraud is true, well, that's kind of something important. It was obvious to me that he didn't really think it. He's been listening to the mainstream media who have not been reporting this stuff. And so then when he said, well, all right, if that fraud is true, well, that's important. But then he also said, no, the military has a long-standing tradition of not getting involved in in politics, and because the commander in chief is a civilian, so the military stays out of it. And a lot of countries throughout history have just had lots of problems when the military got too much power. But I'm sitting here thinking, if we're under attack by these enemies who are domestic, I mean, at some point, people who took that oath are at least, it's okay for them, in my mind, to ask the question, do we have a response? What is our response? And that's kind of what this conversation is touching on, I think.
Yeah, totally. First of all, we have a new guest, Nate. Welcome to the show. I think the last time you were on
in the house, Nate in the house.
Yeah. I think
Nate is our boy, dear listener from back in the day. Welcome, Nate. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. I'm okay. So welcome, Nate. And I want to pose a question. I'm going to pose this, Dad, to you, and then I want to hear Matt's response, having been former military, because I'm curious. What are your thoughts on, the states are called upon to.
All right, Luke. May I revise? Nate is also former military, so could you post it to him as well?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't, Nate. I apologize. I didn't know you were also former military. And we also can't hear you. I think something's up with your audio.
You hear me?
Yeah, I think you need to turn it up a lot more. Let me see if I can. I think I might be able to. No, I can't. I thought I might be able to turn your mic volume up. Okay, so while you're figuring that out, Nate, I'm gonna post this to my dad and also to Matt. What are your thoughts on the military? So it's incumbent upon the states to operate their state elections, which includes their electors, which are then sent towards the president to cast their vote on behalf of their state for the president. What are your thoughts on the idea that perhaps it's incumbent upon the federal government to step in and have, I don't know, the National Guard or the military come in and say, you are not capable of operating your own elections?
This is a very good question.
Yeah, that is really a good question.
See,
yeah.
I'll take that and say that I don't trust federal agencies to do anything, period. And the higher ups of most federal agencies, including the military, aren't, necessarily patriots, but are, government bureaucrats. I mean, your generals are working as politicians more than anything else. So who's to say that same, general, colonel, major, whoever that you're putting in charge of running the election isn't going to do the exact same thing that the state officials are doing because, hey, we're going to pay you off. Yeah, sure, they took the oath and all, but do they care? Because they're making that much money and they're getting that many kickbacks from that many places that are also under the radar because they've made the connections to do so. So at the base level, the idea of, the brave and patriotic young soldier, taking charge and making sure our elections are run fairly and equitably, that sounds great, but it's not necessarily those people actually, making the decisions to make sure that happens. And I don't think that would actually be meaningful enough to make an effect.
Yeah. I think the point you're making is a huge concern of mine, which is that when you take such a proposition seriously, what you are actually proposing is instead of isolated fraud, widespread fraud.
Yeah, and it goes back to our question about state sovereignty in elections in episode number 100. back in the day. So
Dad, I'm gonna pitch it to you, and then I want to hear Nate's thoughts on this as well.
You guys
But-
hear me now?
Right quick before that, I'm about to have to jump off. Otherwise, my sister-in-law doesn't get a Christmas present this year from me. So I will catch y'all later. Y'all have a Merry Christmas. And
All right, Matt, before you go, you have a podcast, right?
I kind of sort of started up one on Anchor. It's very 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 low tier in quality, but at the moment,
No, it's pretty good actually. I listened.
Oh yeah,
to it.
you like that first episode there?
Yeah, I listened to it. It was actually quite good. I was like, damn, okay, all right.
Nice. But yeah, search the Fulton Cast on Anchor. The first episode was just some like weird ass stories that I've found from traveling the country and working at night, and then I put another episode up here recently that I didn't really advertise, based on like Louisiana restaurants, because I was working in Louisiana and had just been eating some pretty good Cajun chow. So not exactly mind blowing, but in case you ever need a trip to a vacation in Louisiana, you'll be all set. But yeah,
right.
so yeah, the Fulton
All right.
Cast on Anchor, Spotify, and a few other places.
All right, right on, man. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining. Again, for those of you who don't know, he was you were one semester in Fish Drill Team, but I mean, one semester in Fish Drill Team is like a lifetime in any other
lifetime of hell.
discipline.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Thank you so much.
So
Matt,
there's
for
three of
joining.
us on. There was three of us that were on the drill team then on this particular.
And
stream.
one BQ. Matt Fulton, well met. Merry Christmas, sir. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to y'all.
All right, man. All right.
All right,
Take care,
catch y'all
brother.
later, guys.
All right. All right, Dad. I'm gonna go to you on this question, and then I wanna hear Shady Nate.
You guys hear me yet?
Yeah, you're still really quiet,
You can't do anything about that?
man.
It's getting
let me see.
better. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Yeah, you got a little louder.
I literally turned my mic up all the way.
Just shout really loud then.
Yeah, you have to scream into the microphone. Pretend you're a metal singer.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's very I can't really hear you.
I have two thoughts, and I'm not exactly. The question has kind of lingered long enough to where I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I got two thoughts on this subject. Number one, I hope we never have to answer the question, what is the plan for the military in the event that domestic enemies become so ascendant we have to even ask that question. That is horrible. I don't want to go there, and I'm sure that the commander or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the military, I'm sure he doesn't want to go there, because all of a sudden he's making decisions that are just unbelievably consequential. So let's all hope we don't go there. And so then the second thing is on this subject of, does one state have standing to go to the federal government and say, hey, look, this other state has fraud in their elections. The people in that state wanted to vote a certain way, and then the leaders quashed that and stuck their own votes in there. That's not fair. And we happen to agree with the people and not their leaders, and so now we're disenfranchised. I think that, to me, is, if the Civil War was fought by Lincoln to keep the Union together, then I think states have standing if they want to sue each other, especially on the issue of elections and whether they're free and fair. And so I think I was really disappointed that the Supreme Court did not take the case and then ask the question, show us the evidence of fraud. And then I think the Supreme Court would be entirely within its purview to say, No, wait a minute. You guys committed a foul over here. Go back to your state legislature and have it done according to the Constitution, and let the chips fall where they may. And I would like to think the Supreme Court could do that without the media spinning it that they picked the new president, for crying out loud. So those are my thoughts. I don't want a military solution, but good grief. Theoretically, we have one, but I hope we never do it. And number two, I really wish the Supreme Court had heard that case. And there's another one up in Pennsylvania. Sidney Powell's got a Pennsylvania case up in front of him right now, and I haven't heard what the Russ, do you know what the deal on that case is?
It's on the docket. No.
It's on the docket.
Yeah.
On that note, I feel like that's kind of one of the fallout things I felt about Texas getting rejected by the Supreme Court is, if you look at that on a broader spectrum of when you look at all the states that over the past decade or whatever it's been, where they're trying to override the Electoral College, all the states that have been signing on to this agreement that, once we reach this level of states that sign on to this, we're no longer going to vote the way our state voted. We're going to vote for the popular vote. The Supreme Court, by rejecting Texas on this election, basically kind of tied on to that and said that, hey, yeah, we're going to let these states, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, we're going to let these states do that and just override the Constitution, override the Electoral College, because we're not going to allow states to combat other states when they are violating the actual Constitution of the country.
Exactly.
Nate, can you do me a favor? Can you mute your audio briefly? We're having a lot of white noise going on in the background right now.
Fuck me, man.
Damn. Okay.
That was
But
it.
I do want to hear Nate talk about the constitutional question. So,
I thought it. Honestly, I thought it was my dad filing his fingernails, but
Hey, I got to pick my guitar and I got to file them, and they're thick.
But no, I think that's an important comparison. I'm just filling in here because I want to hear Nate's opinion, especially if he's military. But
I do too.
But my comparison there is that, if the Supreme Court is going to deny a state against a state over the country's constitution, okay, so then what do we get to with this thing that's been driving for years that's trying to undermine the Electoral College? When that comes to bear, the Supreme Court's not going to step in. They're not going to let the states that do believe in the Constitution combat these states that are trying to undermine it with whatever it is that they're working on.
If states do not have credible grievances against states, then what is the purpose of the Supreme Court?
Yeah,
right.
So let's hear Nate's opinion. Nate, you want to jump back in?
Oh,
No.
That would be a no. Speaking of,
Nate pinged in the chat that he was going to change locations and hop back in. I don't know if you saw that.
no.
there's another interesting thing here. One of the amendments, I don't remember which one it is, the 15th maybe, it was done, and it called for the direct election of senators in the states by the population, by plebiscite, I guess. Prior to that, the senators for each state were determined by the state legislatures. And so whoever it was that came up with that amendment and then got it through enough states to pass, that removed some power from the state legislatures. And now no one in the government represents the state legislatures. So I'm thinking that this problem we're having today of the undermining of our system of government that we know and love, I think that might have been, I don't know if it was the first shot of the war, but certainly it was a piece of this puzzle. And there's a movement right now to restore that to I don't know what you would do, cancel that amendment or I don't know how you would describe rescind it. Yeah. But I think that's a good idea. I think the state legislators ought to appoint our senators or elect them or whatever the process was.
If our elections are compromised anyways, I mean, you would think that the fraud on the state legislature voting side might be less than on a senatorial race or a presidential race. It spreads the risk out a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it harder to steal the election.
I think an important part of Luke's question as well, though, as far as kind of tying back to what he was wanting to pose all of y'all with the military intervening, is the same question we face with our police departments right now. Like, there's parts of the country that are loving that their police department isn't enforcing what their governor says, and there's parts of the country that are, Jesus, the police are literally shutting us down, literally putting us in jail for living our lives. So, I mean, I feel like that translates to the military question as well of, yes, they're going to defend the Constitution, but that's kind of what the police officers signed on for as well. So if we're gonna rely on the police to not enforce lockdowns on us and not tell us that we can't sustain our lives with our businesses, how can we depend on the military? Trust me, I've love the military, but can we depend on them even if it were to get to that point that we needed them to enforce an election? Can we even depend on that if we can't right now depend on our police officers to not enforce the crazy things that are being applied to us right now?
Other than taking the oath as a military officer, all I did was take the oath. There was never really any thought or briefings or training on what a domestic enemy looks like and what are we supposed to do if that happens. I don't even think it's come up.
Dave in Texas, do you uphold that oath to this moment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There it is.
And I think we've got domestic enemies running around this country, and I'm not sure that I'm just signed up to do my license to carry permit. I've passed the written. I'm getting ready to do the proficiency, but I've got to make a decision. Am I going to carry? And in my entire life, the only time I've ever wished I had a gun in the car was when we were coming back from a fishing trip and went through New Orleans and drove through the middle of a Black Lives Matter parade. And but it turned out it was completely peaceful. Had little old ladies in lawn chairs waving flags, and the police were everywhere, orange cones. It was entirely no problem at all. And but I was anxious because of all these other stories.
Well,
and so
you
I
never
don't
told me
want to
about
carry a gun.
Yeah.
If we've devolved to where we have to carry guns around this country, then we've lost a bunch of our freedom, and we need to fix this problem.
Dave in Texas, it's the wrong question. Have we advanced to where we need to carry guns? Most respectfully, sir, I'm glad that y'all were okay in New Orleans. I am glad.
That's because he was with us.
Russ, I'll push back on you. I'll push back on you a little bit there, Russ, because this is honestly, like, I am very pro-gun. I am very pro-Trump, but this year is the very first time in my life that I felt the need to buy a gun, that I felt the need to vote.
I know.
This is the first time I've ever voted for a president, was this year. I didn't vote for Trump 4 years ago. I wasn't.
What caused you to do that, Dan? Talk about that. Why? What caused you to vote this time as opposed to not voting last time?
Well, my turning point on him was, I forget the name of the town, but when we had the Tiki Torch rally,
Charlottesville.
Yeah, that was my turning point on him. Not that I supported the rally per se, but when he dropped "there were good people on both sides" statement, I was like, oh shit, this guy actually gets what's going on. That was my turning point on him as a person. My decision that I needed to vote for him was driven very much by BLM, the protests, the riots, the surge in the principled approach of the extreme left. So a combination of those things made me feel an existential need to vote for him. But my turning point on him as a candidate was the Charlottesville statement.
So
Dad,
flesh out a
your
little
question?
bit. Go a little bit on Charlottesville here. He said good people on both sides, but then he went on in a couple of sentences later where he clearly condemned right-wing extremists. Now that's the part our friends in the media have left out. So, but you didn't mention that a second ago. So talk about that.
Because that's the part to me that I feel like is everything that's the media. I've been hearing that from the media forever, that we need to condemn these extremists. So to me, what I heard from him was just focusing on the point that actually matters, of not the media extremism, not taking something and painting it with a broad stroke, but identifying that there were good people on both sides, and we had some extremists here, and we need to condemn them. But you can't paint the entire right with that broad stroke that they're all evil. And you can't just condemn. So, I mean, when I say that, what I say about his statement is the part that struck me, where I was like, okay, this guy thinks outside of that mainstream polarizing mindset. Okay, this is a guy that's actually looking at things the way that I am. I need to start paying attention to him. And when I started tuning in to him more at that point, like, I was not even remotely Trump trained. He didn't even get me to register to vote, because I was looking at Trump versus Hillary, and I was like, oh, he's saying all this crazy stuff. He's funny, but I don't view him as a candidate I would vote for. Hillary is just goddamn evil. And then we got to Charlottesville, and that moment where he could identify to me that he was outside of all of the shit that I viewed, that I knew was bullshit, that I knew all of it was. And I was like, this is why I don't want to be part of this. When he could portray himself honestly as being in a mindset outside of that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to hop on this train.
It was a seminal moment. You are in the minority, Dan. You are in the minority. Most jumped the other way, but
I mean, we've talked about this. I'm a little autistic, but
what's interesting is I saw Joe Biden a couple days ago. Joe Biden, in his acceptance speech or whatever it was a couple days ago, he was talking about the moment his grandkids told him he had to run, and it had to do with the Charlottesville thing, but they conveniently left out the part where Trump condemned everybody on the far right. And he just said, there's good people on both sides. I knew I had to run. That's got to be the most telling example of media spin.
Trump has condemned white supremacy 100 times more than any president in history.
Yep.
And yet, anytime that's not what he opens with.
Yeah,
they say he didn't condemn it this time. He's done it 1,000 times.
Yeah, this is the thing that it like annoys the shit out of me. Is like during the debate when who the fuck was it? Chris Wallace. When Chris Wallace was like, do you condemn white supremacy? And,
for the second time. Well, the 20th.
Yeah, like it's in these moments where I wish I could be Trump's debate coach and be like, when they ask this, say, the status is condemned, Chris Wallace. Status equals condemned. It's binary. I've already condemned it. I can't condemn it again. It's already condemned. You asked me this question in 2016. Do you not remember that? Do you not remember when you asked me this question 4 years ago? What is your purpose in asking this again? Because the status is condemned, and there's no, like, I haven't reversed that. And then I would even go further, and I would say, and Chris Wallace, if you had done your research as a journalist, which I assume you to be, you would know that Richard Spencer, who's the thought leader of the alt-right, actually endorsed Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And then I would turn to Joe Biden and I would say, so Joe Biden, do you condemn the fact that you've received a public endorsement from the alt-right, which is the only legitimate? I mean, who the hell here is KKK at this point? Nobody is. But Joe Biden, there's a lot of people on the alt-right out there. They've now publicly endorsed you. They support you. Joe Biden, do you condemn white supremacy? And I would just totally flip it back on them. But whoever was prepping Trump for this debate failed. They just failed. They didn't know enough.
Well, you're assuming that Trump does whatever his debate coaches tell him to do.
Well, that's a fair argument.
Yeah, he's very much his own man.
Who was his debate coach for that first debate?
What's
I
that?
don't know. Did he have a debate coach?
He did. You don't know who it was.
I don't know who it was.
I don't know who it was either.
Oh, I know who it was. It was Chris. What's that guy's name? Chris Christie. Yes, that's who it was.
Oh Jesus, he's on Team ABC.
Yeah, he's like third tier.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean, it's beating a dead horse of the Dems are the actual racists. But I mean, look at Kamala's seat right now. I mean, Newsom appointed somebody to replace her today. I think it was today. And of course, he appointed a Democrat. And there's
Dan Johns, do red pill.
Did she resign?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if she formally stepped down from her seat, but I saw that Newsom made the appointment, and he appointed some guy named Padilla, and he's supposed to be like the first Latino to hold the position or something. But there's uproar over it because, of course, BLM was demanding that it be another black woman because there's no other black woman in the Senate. But I mean, if you look at that on its face, Newsom is a shitlib. He appointed a shitlib. So if you're someone that lives in California and wants your senator to represent your ideas, he just appointed someone that represents your ideas. So by you complaining that it's not a black person, you are literally saying that the color of your skin is more important than your ideas.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's also, let's call it out for what it is, Dan. Racist. It is racist.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's beating a dead horse that they are the actual racists, but like literally right in front of us today. I don't care that you represent every position that I represent. You're not black.
I do hate the DR3 argument. It's Dems are real racist. Okay. DR3. But it happens to be true. So
yeah. All right, gentlemen, gentle lady, what do you think we close this stream out?
Sounds good. It's been a blast.
We just got here. What are you talking about? I'm just
started. I thought we just started. Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm just getting started.
You're just addicted to long form, Russ.
Definitely team long.
Team long.
Russ and I have literally we've recorded for literally 6 straight hours before. And that's not including
those were the good shows.
Yeah, not including the hour or two before, the hour or two after. So it was 8 hours of just nothing but recording.
I appreciate the effort y'all put into that, but I also appreciate on my end what I've talked to you about, that there's such a dearth of good content out there. I'd love to be able to listen to y'all for 4 hours, even if it's something that you could have covered in 3.
Wah, David.
I appreciate having y'all having that conversation, having the tangents, having the side stories that we get off into, just because
now Dave in Texas eternally BTFO'd.
Well, I mean, what else am I going to listen to? Tim Pool spinning on a fence post?
I think my favorite part about HSP in the episodes I've managed to stay with is when, first of all, you'll be talking about a substantial issue and you'll make a couple of good points that I like. and maybe I don't agree with all of them, but you talk well about the issues. But then I love it when usually one of you will grab onto something and then just start running it into the ground, and then the other one piles on, and then it just gets worse and worse, and you're both just convulsed with laughter.
Texas, David, Texas. No, it gets better and better. You heard.
It's just multiple mayors on Fung Fung.
What?
Fucked up, Dan Johnson. Yeah.
We don't want to know.
I'll tell you what scares me though about this whole thing is the censorship of YouTube and Google see what's happened is around the world now, individuals like us can get together for a free interchange of information and have our freedom of speech right here. This is freedom of assembly. We are exercising our most precious rights in this very stream. And the people at Google and YouTube know they've got their finger on the ability to do that. And I think I was delighted to see Zuckerberg is getting hauled in front of the government now and being questioned. And I think Google ought to be next. Although I'm reading a book by George Gilder right now called Life After Google, the fall of big data and the rise of the blockchain economy. I am fascinated by how Google may have reached its logical conclusion. And so anyway, what remains to be seen on that. So there you go.
Well, yeah, but I mean, every time they haul one of these like Mark Zuckerbergs in front of the Senate committee, it's like Jim Jordan or Ted Cruz going, do you censor? And then it's like that for like 3 hours, and then it's just done. It's like it's just a big slap on the wrist, and that's all it is.
Luke, may I offer a simple logical premise? May I?
Yeah.
Okay. The simple fact that they consider that they host us means that they are publishers, not a platform, because you are not hosted on a platform, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you mean you're not hosted on a platform?
Because the platform, Dave, in Texas, means that it's the public square. You can say what you want. When you are considered hosted, then you are being edited, is what that means. Yes or no? Yes or no? It's a binary argument.
Well, I'm trying to figure out where, if you were going to take this stream somewhere that was a platform, where would that be?
Rumble.
Is that what we're on now?
No, we're on YouTube.
Not yet. But we're gonna.
Yeah. The differentiating factor between the two is: do they censor your content? Do they edit your content, or do they not?
Yes. More importantly, Luke, if I may say, which I do they consider you hosted? Oh my God, you're hosted. We're hosting you. Well, then you're already not on a platform.
Yeah.
Hosting implies the idea of invitation and acceptance.
Indeed, sir.
Invitation,
platform
acceptance.
Is like.
Yeah, but acceptance, it should be said that acceptance of your content.
So on Rumble, for example, I mean, free speech, you can't shout, fire in a crowded theater. You're not supposed to do that. So on these platforms like Rumble, are there things that would not be allowed?
Well, this is a question of property rights. So, like, yes, you can't yell fire in a theater. That's a question of property rights. Okay. And what the government has totally flubbed, which is what they've done, is create Section 230, which is to conflate property rights and speech rights.
Indeed.
They just conflated all of it, and now it's this confusing mess. And now the government and the right and the left are arguing over it, and this is the entire problem. which when government gets involved in things like this. So,
Well, I can guarantee you. Okay, Pajit Pai and sick. Okay, Pajit Pai got this correct. He did. He got it correct in the form of what's it called, Luke? What's it called? Something about the internet.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Electricity.
No, Dave in Texas. No.
It's I know. It's on a computer.
Dave in
It's
Texas.
like something it's something about the internet, so it's electricity.
Dad, you're about to trigger Russ. And
Yeah,
you don't
you
want to do that. You don't want to do that.
It's free internet. What's it called? Free internet.
Premium.
Oh. Well, Pajit Pai killed it. Ajit Pai, to be fair. Okay.
We call him Pajit.
Yeah. What's it called, Luke? What's it called?
I don't know, man. I don't know where you're trying to get at.
Not free internet. It's not that. God damn. Sorry, oh damn. Well, Daniel San's watching the stream. That's good. It is not free internet. It is
Net neutrality.
Yes. Thank
Net
you.
neutrality. Thank you,
And
Dan John.
That was a quick Google. I was like,
That was hard to watch.
nah.
y'all remember the world ended a year and a half ago when net neutrality went away, right?
Yeah, I did. I was on 4chan and posting on 4chan that night. I recall. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no longer free speech. You can't log on to the internet anymore.
Yeah.
It's been such a dark time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we gave away the DNS gate to China. We did that. That's also true, right? Net neutrality, Dan Johns. Thank you so much, bro.
Dan Johns has single-handedly saved the stream.
Hey,
Just call me Jamie. I'll be Jamie from now on.
Yeah, Jamie. Pull that up, Jamie.
There were chimpanzees involved.
Oh.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good end of the stream. What say y'all?
Probably, but I Dave in Texas, do you understand my point before we go? Do you understand?
No, you never. As soon as you've got to net
never made
neutrality, you heaved such a sigh of relief that you remembered that Dan remembered net neutrality. You completely forgot what you were saying. So continue please, with your point.
Fair point. It is that there are platforms and there are producers,
Publishers,
right? Yeah, publishers. Okay. Either way. Okay. So, Dave in Texas, either we can say what we want to say on a free and fair platform, or we will be censored by a publisher. And that is the intent of net neutrality. That was the intent. And that is a true story. Believe me or don't.
All
just
right.
getting ready to do my Foster Brooks imitation.
Hey, it doesn't matter, Dave in Texas. Merry Christmas. Shayna, Merry Christmas. Dan,
Merry Christmas.
And Dave in Texas, I don't know if you even remember me, but we met about 15 years ago. Pleasure to see you again.
Yes, sir. Where were we when we met?
I was a friend of Luke's back in college. I think we only met once, but it's a pleasure to see you again.
It is
Pleasure to see you too.
Yes.
It's probably like sometime when we were working at Roadhouse, and you came in or something, and Dan and I were both extremely hungover on a game day Saturday morning.
God.
And by the way, Dave, in Texas, the three of us boys are still extremely hungover. So
It's been a 15-year bender, but
now,
Do y'all know who Foster Brooks is?
No.
Y'all need to go. You need to go on YouTube and just search for Foster Brooks. He's a comedian, and he was popular in the '60s. And his act was he acts like a drunk, and he shows up on the Dean Martin show. He was like there every week, and it's just hilarious watching this guy. And he's sober as he can be, but you just can't believe it how well he acts drunk, and he's just hilarious.
I know him, Dave, in Texas. I do.
Anybody who acts drunk doesn't know how to be drunk.
So I'm guessing that there was a lot of empirical research that went into that conclusion. Is that right, Luke?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we just said, yeah, I mean, the running joke that Dad, between you and I, is me and my friends when we used to party, it was wasn't bring your own beer, it was bring your own 30-pack.
No, I became shocked at how things. We drank a lot of beer when I was there, but when Luke said, "Oh, Dad, it's considered rude to show up at a party without your own personal 30-pack," and I'm going.
Well, I mean, times have changed.
No, they haven't. Times have changed. Human nature certainly has not. Some of us just have more. Some of us have more tolerance than others.
All right, Russ. Well, Russ, will you give us one of your most epic outros of our show of HSP 108?
Dan, Dave in Texas, Dana, Luke, this is for you.
Cheers.
Cheers. I have nothing. I have nothing in front of me.
I got nothing.
Cheers. Yeah.
I got backwash.
Well, it's already disgraceful, but I'll do it in your stead. All right, dear listener, we have made it down this 108-mile slog. Merry Christmas, dear listener. You be well. You and yours be well. Celebrate the birth and celebrate your lives. And Luke and I will be back at you before you know it, before episode number 109. And there, what the fuck are you laughing at? What the fuck are you laughing at?
This is epic. This is
Is
outro.
I don't know if I've heard that part of the show slurred before.
Oh yeah. I'm most definitely looking forward to 109.
It's all good.
Continue, Russ. Continue, Russ.
I'm here with you, brother. I am here with you, brother.
He's getting triggered again. He's getting triggered again.
All right, dear listener, Luke and I will be back in the saddle before you know it. You heard this. What the fuck? The fuck? Okay. All right. Anyways, Merry Christmas, dear listener. Well met, Matt. And Luke and I will be back at you before you know it. Luke, get us the fuck out of here.
That was epic. That was epic.
All right, dear listener, we are getting the fuck out of here. We wish you a Merry Christmas from Russ and I both. Dan, Shayna, Dave from Texas, also known as my dad. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Ross,
and
Nate, Matt, and everybody who showed up. Everybody.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And don't forget to follow us. You can find us on, you can find everything that we do ostensibly until I get off my lazy ass and start actually putting the audio on our website, zero-gravity-media.com. If you have questions, if you want to troll us, I don't suggest
Don't
doing
recommend
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to work out well for you. But if you want to, you can do so at zero-gravity-media.com/contact. You can find everything we do on Facebook and Twitter at Zero Gravity Med. You can find me on Twitter at Lukefarskinner. That's LukeFaHRSKINNER. You can find Russ for now on Twitter at RussZGM. You can find Dan literally nowhere. That's DAN. And you can find Dave and Shayna also nowhere. That's DAVE and SHANA. Does anybody have any closing words before we wish everybody a Merry Christmas?
I simply love you all. Shayna, Dan, Dave in Texas, and Luke, I love you all. Merry Christmas. That's it.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
Russ.
Christmas, Russ.
Merry Christmas. All right. Peace.
Peace out.